Chapter 381. For the first time, he truly realized just how formidable the divine soul power within his disciple was. However, Lu Qing had no time to pay attention to these minor details at the moment. After activating the divine soul talisman, his hands began to swiftly form one seal formation after another. Soon, a speck of spirit light appeared between his hands, floating in the air. As the spirit light emerged, the elder doctor began to feel the surrounding spiritual energy suddenly fluctuate, converging towards Lu Qing. Centering on the spirit light between his hands, they poured into it. With a large amount of spiritual energy being absorbed, the speck of spirit light quickly expanded and with a sharp increase, transformed into a chi talisman that emitted a hazy white light and was full of mysterious aura. Go! After the chi talisman was condensed, Lu Qing didn't hesitate at all. With a forward gesture of the seal formation, the chi talisman immediately flew forward and landed on the white jade bottle he had placed in front of him. As the chi talisman settled, the white jade bottle shook violently, and the next moment, a bright light suddenly appeared. When it dimmed again, mysterious patterns had emerged on the bottle's surface. Upon close inspection, it was not difficult to see that these patterns were identical to the chi talismans Lu Qing had previously condensed. After imprinting a chi talisman on the jade bottle, Lu Qing did not stop. Instead, he quickly condensed 2 more chi talismans and infused them into the white jade bottle. Only then did he stop, wiping the sweat from his forehead and looking up at the sky with a smile. Good! I just made it in time. Fortunately, his divine soul power had recently made considerable progress, nourished by the Earth Spirit Pearl. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to continuously condense 3 spiritual energy talismans in such a short period of time. And now all was quiet around him. Everyone was stunned by the scene of Lu Qing crafting the jade bottle. Hu Ziji, in particular, was shocked speechless by Lu Qing's miraculous, almost celestial techniques, her mind going blank. Picking up the white jade bottle, Lu Qing sensed it with his divine soul power. Not bad. Although it's a bit rough, it should be usable. Ow! Ow! At this moment, Little Li jumped onto Lu Qing's shoulder, pointing at the sky and anxiously crying out to him. It turned out that the moonlight essence falling from the high heavens was about to reach the earth. Don't worry, I'll start collecting it now. After calming Little Li with his hand, Lu Qing tossed the jade bottle forward and gave a slight stir of his heart and spirit. Go! The jade bottle gently landed on the highest point of the rooftop, and the next moment, a brilliant light emitted from the bottle. Then, a strange scene occurred. Within a radius of several miles, the moonlight essence that was originally scattered across the sky suddenly changed direction under the influence of some strange suction force. All of it shifted, converging towards where Lu Qing and the others were. It's really effective. Seeing this, Lu Qing was elated. He had also started with an attitude of just trying it out and had not expected it to actually work. Immediately, he no longer hesitated and urged the spirit talisman's power on the jade bottle with all his divine soul power. The next moment, the radiance of the jade bottle greatly increased, and the suction force drastically intensified. The speed of the moonlight essence's shift in the sky also sharply increased, gathering above the inn like birds returning to their nest and entering the jade bottle. Ayo! Ayo! Little Li, seeing so much moonlight essence being absorbed into the jade bottle by Lu Qing, excitedly jumped up and down, its ears trembling with enthusiasm. The moonlight essence from the sky came quickly and left just as quickly. Soon after, the sky returned to calm, and the moon, which had once shone shockingly bright, returned to its normal appearance. However, Lu Qing could still sense that the moon seemed to have gained an inexplicable significance. Of course, this was not the time to care about these things. Seeing that the moonlight essence in the sky had all fallen, Lu Qing immediately performed a spell, and the light of the jade bottle retracted, flying back into his hands. Lu Qing took out a jade stopper and sealed the jade bottle. Ayo! Little Li could hardly wait, jumping onto Lu Qing's shoulder and looking at him eagerly. Not now. If you take it right away, you'll probably sleep again until who knows when. Wait until I study it a bit more, Lu Qing said sternly. He wasn't certain that the contents of the bottle were what he had guessed, and couldn't rashly let little Li use it. Upon hearing this, little Li, although anxious, knew that it had to listen to the bipedal creature. So despite its reluctance, it agreed and dejectedly went back to little Yan's side, its tail drooping. "Ah Qing, can you now tell me what exactly was going on just now?" the elder doctor asked at this time. "Master, our previous predictions, I'm afraid they're coming true," Lu Qing sighed and said. "You're referring to..." Tonight, the reappearance of the heaven and earth Dao sound indicates that the rules of heaven and earth have evolved to another stage, ready to undergo new changes. And this time, the change is going to be even greater, aiming at all living creatures. If your disciple hasn't guessed wrong, the light from just now was the moonlight essence. This moonlight essence has the effect of opening spiritual wisdom and transforming and purifying bloodlines for all living creatures. Even plants, bamboo, rocks, if fated to absorb and refine enough of it, might also have the chance to transform into spirits with spiritual wisdom. Tonight, the vast moonlight essence, cascading from the bright moon onto the earth. It's uncertain how many creatures will seize this opportunity for transformation. After this event, from now on, it is likely that various exotic and spiritual beasts and medicines will gradually appear in the world. Lu Qing's speech left Hu Ziji completely bewildered. The elder doctor, however, seemed thoughtful. "So you're saying, the moonlight essence just now was an opportunity bestowed by heaven and earth to all the creatures in the world?" "That's right. The most important effect of this moonlight essence is to enlighten the dull and to awaken spiritual wisdom in all beings. For our human race, which naturally possesses spiritual wisdom, the effects are there but not significant," Lu Qing replied. "Indeed, heaven and earth are fair. The opportunities they bestow are not solely useful for the human race but are impartial towards all creatures." The elder doctor praised and didn't feel any disappointment. "Master, with the second occurrence of the heaven and earth Dao sound tonight, the rules between heaven and earth must have evolved to a certain extent. Next, there will probably be even more changes." "That's correct, I have already felt it. The rules between heaven and earth have indeed become more perfected." The elder doctor nodded. Being an innate strong person, he could sense the subtle changes in the rules of heaven and earth even more. Disciple has a feeling, before long, something big is going to happen at Holy Mountain, and we probably need to get there sooner rather than later. After the second heaven and earth Dao sound, Lu Qing found that the attracting force he had felt before was now even stronger. He had a premonition that if the great opportunity he had been sensing all along was really there, it would likely reveal itself before long. "We will set off early tomorrow." The elder doctor, who also had his premonitions, nodded without hesitation. "And Miss Hu?" Seeing that his master agreed, Lu Qing then turned to Hu Ziji, who still looked utterly dumbfounded. What?" Hu Ziji came back to her senses but still appeared somewhat baffled. There was no helping it. The things she had seen and heard tonight were simply too shocking for her. She couldn't digest all of it at once. "Miss Hu, originally I wanted to heal your leg and then send you to the Xuanxin sect. But now, given the urgency of the situation, we must get to Holy Mountain as soon as possible, and I'm afraid we can't take a detour to Xuanxin sect." "You're going to Holy Mountain?" Hu Ziji was startled. She naturally knew of Holy Mountain, the most sacred place in Central State. However, she didn't know that Lu Qing and the others were headed there. They hadn't mentioned it during the day. "That's right. So I'd ask for your understanding, Miss Hu. Yunlai Town seems peaceful, and the townspeople are kind. Perhaps you could stay here to fully recover from your leg injury, and once we are done with our business on Holy Mountain, we can come back for you. Of course, you won't have to worry about your expenses. We'll see to it." Lu Qing initially wanted to get to know this person favored by destiny, to observe what was so unique about her. But now he simply couldn't spare the thought. Upon hearing this, Hu Ziji felt her heart and spirit become unsettled. Being level-headed, staying in Yunlai Town to heal was indeed a good choice. After all, she had also heard the conversation between Lu Qing and the elder doctor. Their journey to Holy Mountain could be dangerous. But for some reason, she didn't want to just stay behind. Finally, after struggling with the decision, Hu Zheji mustered her courage and said to Lu Qing, "Mr. Lu, may I accompany you to Holy Mountain?" Chapter 382 Rule Moon, Emperor's Liquid, Administering. "Miss Hu, do you want to join us and venture to Holy Mountain?" Lu Qing asked. "Aha!" Hu Zheji nodded. After saying this, she relaxed and looked at Lu Qing calmly. "But we might encounter dangers on our way to Holy Mountain. And besides, Miss Hu, haven't you been wanting to study under Xuanxin sect? My leg is broken now, and it seems impossible for it to heal anytime soon. I surely won't be able to make it for the Xuanxin sect's disciple recruiting ceremony. Even if I force myself to attend, I would just get eliminated. I'd rather not embarrass myself." Hu Zheji spoke earnestly as she watched Lu Qing. "So, I think it's better to follow Mr. Lu to Holy Mountain to gain some exposure. That way, at least this trip to Central State wouldn't be in vain. As for dangers, traveling always involves risks. Even people as close as relatives might harbor evil intents, waiting to stab you in the back at any time." At this point, Hu Zheji's face turned somewhat sorrowful. Clearly, the near-death experience right after leaving Azure Dragon City, at the hands of the red-clothed woman and her group, had greatly impacted her. "So, Mr. Lu, Elder Doctor, I hope you can give me this chance to follow you. If there really is any danger that implicates you, you don't have to worry about me. This is my choice, and I will have no complaints." Observing the determination on Hu Zheji's face, Lu Qing was startled for a moment, as if seeing the young girl before him for the first time. Suddenly, he smiled slightly. "It's not as severe as all that. We were just concerned about your leg and didn't want you to overexert yourself. Well, since you wish to come with us, it would be too inhumane of us to drive you away. Mr. Lu, you agree?" Hu Zheji was overjoyed at hearing this. "Yes, our carriage can indeed accommodate one more. But just so you know, Miss Hu, from tomorrow on, we will be on the road continuously with few breaks. Be mentally prepared," Lu Qing said. "Don't worry, Mr. Lu. I definitely won't complain," Hu Zheji replied firmly. "Let's head downstairs then. The commotion earlier wasn't minor, and people might come to check soon." Although the heaven and earth Dao sound could only be heard by innate realm experts and some uniquely talented geniuses, the spectacle of moon essence falling to earth was visible to everyone. The noise Lu Qing made while collecting the moon essence in jade bottle was also quite significant. It was hard to say if someone had noticed it or not. Although they weren't afraid, there was also no need to invite trouble needlessly. Taking Little Yen and Hu Zheji with him, Lu Qing and his company descended from the inn's rooftop. Fortunately, the innkeeper and the waiter were ordinary people who didn't notice anything unusual, sparing Lu Qing and his friends from having to explain. As for Ma Gu and Wei Zian, probably exhausted from the travel during the day, both were still sound asleep and weren't awakened. "Miss Hu, you should go back to your room and rest early. We'll probably have to wake up very early tomorrow to continue our journey." "Aha!" Although Hu Zheji was very curious, she knew this wasn't the time to inquire and obediently returned to her room. Seeing Hu Zheji close her door, Lu Qing turned back to the elder doctor and said, "Master, I need to figure out how to use this moon essence. I'm afraid I won't be able to join you to examine the poison blood for now." "No worries. I will study it by myself first. You go ahead with your task." The elder doctor nodded, not minding at all. He knew that if Lu Qing was being so cautious, the moon essence must be even more important for little Li than he had imagined. After bidding farewell to his master, once he got back to his room, little Li immediately came to Lu Qing, looking at him expectantly. "Just wait a bit longer, be good." Lu Qing patted little Li's head and then sat beside the bed, taking out the jade bottle. Seeing the jade bottle, little Li's eyes lit up even more, and she obediently squatted next to Lu Qing waiting. Even little Yen looked curiously at the jade bottle. "Brother, is the thing inside the bottle important for little Li?" "I can't be sure yet. Let me check it first." Lu Qing held the jade bottle, but instead of opening it immediately, he extended a trace of divine soul power, examining the patterns on the surface of the jade bottle. Tonight's celestial anomaly had arrived too suddenly, giving him no time to prepare. He had to hastily use his powerful divine soul power to forcibly forge 3 sealing talismans onto the jade bottle, allowing it temporarily to hold the essence of the moon. Otherwise, ordinary containers wouldn't have been able to contain such a miraculous creation from heaven and earth. After the examination, Lu Qing shook his head. Indeed, in haste, the container I crafted was too crude. Although it can temporarily hold the moon essence, it still can't fully secure it. Over time, it will still gradually leak. Lu Qing activated his superpower, Wei Wang Yuping, and looked at the bottle. The next moment, in his vision, intense red light shone from the jade bottle, and several phrases floated up. Sealing jade bottle. Forged by force with sealing talismans, it has the ability to retain radiant spirit liquid. This bottle has some power of a magic artifact. The forging technique is crude. There seems to be room for improvement. Seeing the phrases in his vision, Lu Qing broke into a sweat. He hadn't expected even his own superpower to deem his crafting of the bottle shoddy. With a chuckle at his own expense, Lu Qing uncorked the jade bottle. Immediately, silver light spilled out from the bottle, and a unique fragrance wafted through the air, instantly clearing Lu Qing's mind and bringing a cooling sensation to the divine soul power in his brow chakra. Chapter 383. As for little Li, its eyes went wide, staring intently at the jade bottle. Brother, this smell is so good. Little Yen also squinted her eyes in pleasure, revealing an expression of enjoyment. It's truly worthy of being the heavenly and earthly fortune that opens up spiritual wisdom. Just by smelling it, one can feel their mind becoming clear and their thinking speed up. Lu Qing clicked his tongue in wonder and exclaimed in amazement. He held the jade bottle before his eyes and looked inside. Within, silver light shimmered, as if a small moon was contained inside. Lu Qing used his superpower to gaze for a while until, at last, a purple light of superpower emerged. Moon essence. Emanating from the Rule Moon, it contains a trace of Rule power, an extraordinary essence that can enlighten all things in the world and assist them in opening spiritual wisdom and purifying their bloodlines. It is said that countless moon essences can be condensed into Emperor's liquid, a single drop of which can transform a wild beast into a great demon, adding 1,000 years to its cultivation. When Lu Qing finished reading the introduction about the moon essence, his heart felt some tremors. The amount of information revealed in those few lines was substantial. Firstly, the words Rule Moon. Tonight's bright moon was clearly abnormal, much brighter and larger than that of any usual full moon night. Even his superpower couldn't gather any information about it. It seemed that this must be related to what they called the Rule Moon. Rule Moon. Could it be that tonight's bright moon isn't a physical entity like the moon of my previous life, but is instead manifested by the rules? Lu Qing pondered silently in his heart. He felt he understood this world a little bit more. Also, this moon essence can even be condensed. It's a pity that my cultivation isn't sufficient. Otherwise, if I could collect more of tonight's abundant moon essence, perhaps I could condense a trace of Emperor's liquid. Just a single drop of Emperor's liquid could turn a wild beast into a great demon and add 1,000 years to its cultivation. If little Li were to take it, Lu Qing couldn't imagine how strong it would become. What a pity! A sense of regret surfaced in Lu Qing's heart. However, he quickly regained his composure. One shouldn't be too greedy. Just being able to intercept so much moon essence tonight was already lucky. If he really took away all the moonlight from tens, even hundreds of miles around, that would be like taking away the chances of countless living creatures in the area, making it a questionable act. Moreover, to do such a thing overtly, who knows if it might incur the enmity of the mysterious heavenly Tao. From the warnings received from Master Chun to the appearance of someone with great destiny like Hu Zizhi, Lu Qing was somewhat wary of the will of the heavenly Tao. With this thought, he no longer felt any regret. He looked at little Li, who had been staring at him eagerly, and smiled. All right, little Li, I've checked. The moon essence is indeed fine. However, regarding the use of this moon essence, would you mind if I negotiate with you? Little Li had already shown great excitement when it heard Lu Qing say it was okay. But upon hearing his next sentence, it looked puzzled. The moon essence in the jade bottle isn't small. You probably can't absorb it all at once. I want to share a tiny bit with the 2 horses that pull our cart. Would you be willing? They work hard every day, running with us, and deserve some reward. Hearing this, little Lee's face immediately showed reluctance. However, after tilting its head and thinking it over, it eventually nodded with difficulty. I knew it. Little Lee is the most reasonable. Lu Qing showed a smile, reached out to pet little Lee's head, and then lifted the jade bottle. Come on. Open your mouth wide. The moon essence, besides being contained in this specially made jade bottle, could not be held in other containers. It could only be poured directly. Seeing this, little Lee immediately tilted its head back, opened its mouth wide, and looked at the jade bottle with anticipation. Lu Qing didn't tease it but brought the mouth of the bottle to it instead. Glug, glug. As Lu Qing had said, there was no shortage of moon essence in the jade bottle, all having condensed into spiritual liquid, nearly filling the entire bottle. After all, he had gathered it from miles around. Therefore, little Lee drank heartily. Eventually, after drinking more than half of the bottle, it felt its limit and gently pushed the jade bottle with its paw. Lu Qing timely took the bottle away and put the cap back on. How's that, enough? Ayo! Little Lee let out a light cry, her mouth naturally emitting silver light. But she was completely unaware, clumsily climbing into her little nest on the bed and falling into a deep sleep. Brother, little Lee has fallen asleep again. Little Yen whispered softly. I wonder how long she will sleep this time. Lu Qing shook his head and glanced at little Yen before opening the stopper and saying, Little Yen, come, have a drink too. He had noticed earlier that the little one had watched little Lee drink so joyfully, covetously swallowing her saliva in secret. But, brother, didn't you say we should save some for the horses to drink? Although she was tempted, little Yen still hesitated. It's okay. There's still plenty in the bottle, enough for those 2 creatures to share. Lu Qing said this, but felt somewhat relieved in his heart. After growing up a bit, the little one had started to think about things, not just longing to eat. Hearing her brother say this, little Yen finally opened her mouth. She was indeed very curious about what the moon essence tasted like. It smelled so fragrant. Lu Qing poured some moon essence into little Yan's mouth. The little one shivered for a moment, then smacked her lips a few times and started to smile. Brother, it's sweet and very cool, just like the mint candy Grandpa Chun used to make. Lu Qing, the magnificent moon essence, coveted by countless beasts and living creatures, compared to mint candy by the little one. That's really something else. He also knew that the most important effect of the moon essence was its ability to enlighten living beings, having miraculous effects on birds, beasts, insects, fish, and plants. However, for humans, who are the spirits of all things, the effect is much weaker, not to mention a genius like little Yen with a special physique. For her, the moon essence is really just slightly better than nothing, not much different from candy. Alright, you stay here and watch little Lee. I'll go out for a bit and be back soon. After instructing little Yen to call out loudly if anything happened, Lu Qing took the jade bottle and left the room, heading straight for the inn stable. Sensing someone's approach, the stable immediately buzzed with activity. Quiet down, it's me. Lu Qing emitted a soothing divine soul fluctuation, calming the horses in the stable. Yunlai Town was just a small town, and there usually weren't many travelers passing through. There in this evening had even fewer guests, just them. Therefore, in the stable there were only their 2 horses. Upon recognizing Lu Qing, the 2 tall horses immediately calmed down, but their eyes fixated on the jade bottle in Lu Qing's hands. So, you have sharp noses? Lu Qing chuckled, removing the stopper. Here, I've brought you something nice. Whoosh! When the stopper opened and the fragrance wafted out, the 2 horses became agitated after catching the scent. Calm down. If you keep making noise, I'll put this away and never give it to you again. Lu Qing uttered lightly. The 2 horses immediately fell silent and dared not stir. These past few days, being nourished by the spiritual energy and the power of the array, they had become quite understanding of human nature, managing to grasp some of Lu Qing's intentions. Still, even though they didn't move, they kept their eyes firmly on the jade bottle in Lu Qing's hands. "Half for each of you, no fighting." Quite swiftly, Lu Qing fed the remaining moon essence from the jade bottle to the two horses. Having consumed the moon essence, the two horses also began to grow drowsy. "You guys better not sleep for too long. We need to hit the road tomorrow." Seeing this, Lu Qing began to worry, feeling he had been somewhat inconsiderate. But it was too late for regrets now. He could only hope that these two creatures would wake up by tomorrow. Otherwise, it would delay their journey. Stowing the jade bottle in the Chengquan bag, Lu Qing left the stable. He returned to the room to see little Yen was leaning against little Li, already asleep. Seeing this, Lu Qing, too, felt a wave of drowsiness wash over him. Tonight, he had successively condensed 3 spirit talismans in a short amount of time, which, despite the nourishment from the Earth Spirit Pearl, left him feeling somewhat fatigued. So he blew out the candle and also went to bed to rest. That night, Lu Qing slept extremely well, with no dreams to disturb him. Not knowing when, in a half-dream state, he thought he heard a tender voice calling out in his mind, "Ah Qing." Chapter 384. Major and Minor Will Divine Skills, Dragon Bloodsteed.
Qing.
In a blur, Lu Qing heard a childish voice ringing in his mind. He thought he was dreaming, but in the next moment, he felt something was off and suddenly woke up. Qing, you're awake." This time, the childish voice persisted, and Lu Qing knew that he wasn't dreaming, nor was it an illusion. Someone was indeed calling out to him. However, this voice was one he had never heard before. He sat up, turned his head to search for the source of the voice, and finally his gaze rested on a small figure. Then, his mouth slightly agape, he whispered, Little Li? It's me. Little Li joyfully hopped onto his shoulder. Qing, I think I can talk now." "Yes, I heard you." Lu Qing nodded, but his expression remained somewhat wooden. This situation was so abrupt, even for him, that he felt somewhat overwhelmed. However, after all, he was no ordinary person and quickly came to his senses. "Little Li, did you learn to talk because you consumed the moon essence?" "No. This isn't speaking. It's divine soul communication." Lu Qing finally noticed the clues. Although little Li's voice resonated in his mind, its mouth hadn't moved. Little Li tilted its head and thought for a moment, then said, "I'm not sure. Just that after drinking the moon essence last night, when I woke up, I felt like I could talk. But when I called out to little Yen, she seemed unable to hear me." Lu Qing was now certain that little Li was indeed using divine soul communication, not actual speaking. Divine soul communication, unless one had extremely profound cultivation, would be heard only by martial arts experts who had similarly tempered their divine soul power. "Come, let me take a look at you." Thinking for a moment, Lu Qing brought little Li in front of him. Little Li didn't struggle. It too wanted to know what exactly was happening. Lu Qing activated his superpower and looked at little Li. Very soon, a faint purple energy emerged from little Li's body. Purple. Lu Qing was slightly startled and urgently scanned the information appearing before him. Mutated Night Spirit Fox. Mutated Innate Level Spiritual Beast. Juvenile. Female. Extremely fast. Razor-sharp claws capable of crushing stone and shredding anything. Having refined the beast spirit fruit, its bloodline has evolved and transformed into an innate level spiritual beast, activating bloodline heritage. Due to consuming and absorbing a large amount of moon essence containing a thread of rule power, its spiritual wisdom greatly increased, birthing divine soul power, and further transforming its bloodline, awakening new divine skills. Dark Stealth. After bloodline transformation, innate talent has also transformed into divine skills. Fur can twist space, completely merging with darkness to conceal all traces. Size as desired. After consuming a large amount of moon essence and awakening this divine skill, able to control bodily changes, size according to will. According to legend, the night spirit fox is very fond of eating fish but is naturally averse to water, forever yearning yet never catching. It's actually mutated. After reading the information appearing on Little Li, Lu Qing expressed his amazement. Moon essence was indeed a great opportunity bestowed by heaven and earth. After consuming most of the bottle, Little Li had indeed transformed. Not only had it gained divine soul power but also awakened new divine skills. Little Li, have you awakened a new ability, like the one that allows you to enter into space? Lu Qing asked. Let me think. Little Li tilted its head, trying hard to recall. Suddenly, its eyes brightened. Yes, I think I have a new ability. Ah Qing, I'll show you. After speaking, Little Li jumped down to the ground, and a strange aura emitted from its body, its fur suddenly shining with black light. In the next moment, Lu Qing saw the body of Little Li, originally only the size of a raccoon, slowly begin to swell and grow larger. In no time it had grown to 2 meters in height, its fur also growing longer, like real burning black flames, looking very majestic. The aura emanating from its body also doubled in intensity, giving Lu Qing a palpable sense of shock. If their room were not on the first floor, the floorboards might have cracked beneath its weight. How about that, Ah Qing? I'm impressive, right? Little Li looked down at Lu Qing with pride. Ah Qing, what's going on over there? Why is there suddenly a strong and unfamiliar aura? At that moment, the elder doctor's voice suddenly resounded in Lu Qing's mind. Master, it's nothing. I'm working on something new. I'll explain later. Lu Qing replied using divine soul communication. Having heard this, the elder doctor did not inquire further. Little Li, can you conceal your aura? Lu Qing asked. After a moment's thought, Little Li said, I'll try. It then attuned to something and its aggressive momentum began to slowly decline until fully retracted into its body. Ah Qing, is this okay? Not bad, well done. Lu Qing nodded appreciatively. He knew that Little Li's dark stealth divine skill was an extremely unrivaled innate divine ability, capable of perfectly concealing all its traces. It would naturally not be difficult to control its aura. Little Li, can you now use another divine skill to conceal your body? After Little Li retracted its aura, Lu Qing continued to inquire. Little Li tried and then shook its head. I can't. It seems I can only use one ability at a time and not both simultaneously. But I feel that once I become more powerful, I should be able to do so. Is that so? Lu Qing pondered. It seemed that although Little Li had awakened 2 innate divine abilities, it could not use them at the same time for now. Nevertheless, given its current size, the amount of space power needed to conceal itself would obviously be immensely greater. Chapter 385. Little Li was still only an innate level spiritual beast, so it was normal for its strength to fall short. At that moment, Little Li's body also began to shrink gradually until it returned to its usual size. Why has it returned to normal so quickly? Lu Qing expressed his surprise. He thought the little guy would show off for a bit longer. No more transforming. It's so tiring to get bigger. It's better this way. Little Li hopped onto the bed, lay down, and stuck out its tongue, not wanting to move anymore. Does maintaining your larger size exhaust you? Lu Qing raised an eyebrow in inquiry. Yeah, it's tiring. Just now was the biggest I can get at the moment. I can only sustain it for a quarter of an hour. If I made myself a little smaller, I could last longer. It seems like your transformation divine skill, after growing larger while your strength increases, the consumption of your stamina also greatly increases. Lu Qing realized. Plainly put, Little Li's transformation divine skill was actually like the explosive secret techniques also used by martial artists, which could unleash greater power in a short time. But likewise, the energy consumption would also significantly increase. However, compared to them, Little Li's transformation divine skill was much more mystical. Since it's like this, Little Li, you normally shouldn't use this divine skill, and also, don't casually tell others about it. Little Li's previous transformation into a larger size was terrifying, leaving even Lu Qing somewhat shocked. Its transformation divine skill could definitely be used as a trump card. I got it, Little Lee said weakly. It didn't want to use such a tiring new skill anyway. And about you speaking, also keep it to yourself for the time being. Okay, Little Lee likewise agreed. After all, besides Lu Qing and Little Yen, it didn't like to bother with other people. And since Little Yen could not hear it talk for now, it will mostly just talk to Lu Qing. Brother Lu Qing, are you awake yet? Just as Lu Qing was about to say something else, suddenly, Ma Gu's voice came from outside the room. I'm awake, what's wrong? There seems to be some trouble with our cart-pulling horses. I'm afraid you need to come out and take a look. The horses have trouble? Something stirred in Lu Qing's mind, and he immediately said, All right, go ahead. I'll be right out. Little Lee, you rest here for a while. I'll go and have a look. After giving these instructions, Lu Qing walked out of the room and towards the stable. Arriving at the stable, he saw Ma Gu standing outside of it, in a daze. Uncle Ma, what happened? Brother Lu Qing, you're here? As Ma Gu came to his senses, he quickly made way. You take a look. I don't know what happened overnight. Our two horses, they seem to have changed somewhat. Lu Qing approached and peered into the stable, and he could not help but become somewhat stunned himself. Well, the two horses had not only become a size larger overnight, but even their originally slightly gray fur had turned snow white. They looked suddenly majestic more than 10 times over. Most importantly, both horses now sported a small white horn on their foreheads, decorated with strange patterns. Brother Lu Qing, do you see? Are these still our two horses? Ma Gu asked, hardly believing what he saw. The two steeds in the stable, seeing Lu Qing, came over and affectionately tried to rub against his hand. Lu Qing stroked their heads and nodded. Indeed, they are our two horses. Something happened last night. You and Xian were asleep and did not see it. Lu Qing briefly described the previous night's events, leaving Ma Gu both amazed and regretful. Amazed by the miraculous occurrence of the previous night and regretful for having slept too deeply due to exhaustion and having missed such a spectacle. So you're saying, these two horses changed like this because they drank what you call the moon essence? Ma Gu asked. Exactly, but this change should be a good thing for them. The moon essence is greatly beneficial to all living creatures. Now it seems like their bloodlines have undergone a transformation. No wonder. Ma Gu had a sudden realization. This morning I almost thought our horses had run off. This morning, when he came to check on the horses, he indeed had quite a shock. If it wasn't because he drove the carriage daily and was extremely familiar with the two horses that pulled it, he wouldn't have been able to find some identifying marks on these two drastically changed fellas. And their bridles were ones he recognized. He couldn't help but wonder if some scatterbrain had switched their horses. Lu Qing laughed, stroking the heads of the two horses that nuzzled up to him, and at the same time he activated his superpower, looking over them. Soon, a rich red light of superpower emerged from the two horses. Dragon Blood Steed. A magnificent steed that has awakened a trace of the ancient dragon bloodline. Having consumed moon essence containing rule power, its lineage has undergone a transformation, awakening a trace of ancient dragon blood, greatly increasing its strength and stamina. It is said that within most living creatures in the world, there lies a trace of ancient dragon blood. Once awakened, they can receive the empowerment of dragon power. Sure enough, the bloodline has transformed. After seeing the information that emerged from the two horses, Lu Qing's eyes showed a look of surprise. He had speculated about the change in these two fellows when he saw them, but the benefits the two horses had received were a bit beyond his expectations. He had not expected them to awaken the dragon power deep within their blood, transforming into dragon blood steeds. This was a good thing. With the blessing of these two dragon blood steeds, their speed to the holy mountain could be even faster. Ma Gu, these two horses have undergone a bloodline transformation. Their strength has increased a lot, and their speed will also be quicker. Be careful when we set off, said Lu Qing. Don't worry, Lu Qing brother. No matter how fast, I can control them, replied Ma Gu confidently. That was no idle boast. Over the past few days, running daily, Ma Gu was confident that, when it came to horse driving skills, he could at least be considered at a grandmaster level. Then you should get familiar with them first. These horses' spiritual nature has also increased substantially. Driving them should not be difficult. I'm going to head out, and after we have our breakfast upon my return, we'll be setting off. Last night, I discussed with Master, and after we set off, we won't make any unnecessary stops and will aim to reach the holy mountain as soon as possible. I understand, Ma Gu replied with a solemn expression, taking it seriously. After leaving Ma Gu to familiarize himself with the two dragon blood steeds, Lu Qing left the inn and headed towards the Renxin Medical Clinic. Young Master Lu, you're here? As soon as he arrived at the Renxin Medical Clinic, he saw the young apprentice waiting at the door. Spotting Lu Qing, his eyes suddenly brightened, and he hurried over. You're up so early, little master? Lu Qing said with a smile. My master instructed me to get up early and wait for you, so I have been up since dawn. Mr. Lu, I have prepared all the medicinal herbs you requested, said the apprentice earnestly. Thank you very much. By the way, how is the patient from last night? Lu Qing asked. Not long after you left, Uncle Wang woke up and has now gone home to recuperate, replied the apprentice. That's good to hear. Lu Qing was relieved and followed the apprentice into the clinic, where he saw Dr. Zhao also sitting there. Dr. Zhao, you're up early too. Lu Qing was slightly surprised. I have always been accustomed to getting up early, replied Dr. Zhao gently. Did young Master Lu sleep well last night? Not too bad. Lu Qing nodded slightly. Dr. Zhao, I've come to collect the medicinal herbs I arranged for yesterday. The herbs are ready. Xiao Yi, go get the herbs for young Master Lu. Yes, master. The apprentice responded respectfully, and from behind the counter, he brought out a big bundle. Mr. Lu, here are the herbs you arranged for. Please check them. No need. Lu Qing took the bundle directly and produced his purse. How much is the total? You are too kind, young Master Lu. The herbs you ordered aren't expensive, and the silver you left yesterday is more than enough to cover the cost of the herbs. We actually owe you a tael of silver, Dr. Zhao said warmly. He then had Xiao Yi take out a tael of silver and handed it to Lu Qing. Thank you then. Lu Qing, without any fuss, accepted the silver and put it in his purse. Dr. Zhao, I have other matters and shall not disturb you any longer. Goodbye. Safe travels, young Master Lu. Unexpectedly, this time, Dr. Zhao did not try to retain Lu Qing, but instead sent him out of the clinic politely. After Lu Qing left, a figure appeared behind Dr. Zhao. Master, why not ask young Master Lu about the celestial phenomenon last night? What exactly happened? Chapter 386. Extreme Speed, Foreboding Feeling. Master, the celestial phenomenon last night. This young Master Lu must know the reason. Why not ask him for some advice? Seemingly dull and honest, the eldest disciple asked with some confusion. I have asked, but unfortunately, young Master Lu is not willing to tell us. Dr. Zhao sighed. When did Master ask? The eldest disciple was stunned. He had been listening the whole time and had not heard his master ask again about last night's events. I asked young Master Lu earlier if he had slept well last night, and he answered that he slept very well, which was already an answer, Dr. Zhao explained. Seeing that the eldest disciple was still confused, Dr. Zhao sighed again. Other people's disciples seem so quick-witted. Why is mine so dull? He had to patiently explain. Some things don't need to be stated too obviously. We have already seen the extraordinary methods young Master Lu displayed on the roof of the inn last night. However, when I inquired about his sleep, he did not mention those events at all, clearly indicating that he doesn't want to discuss them in depth with us. Young Master Lu is obviously no ordinary person, and since he does not wish to disclose, why should we pry any further and make a nuisance of ourselves? The eldest disciple finally seemed to contemplate the implications. Meanwhile, the younger apprentice was completely at a loss. Master, elder brother, what are you talking about? I can't understand a thing. Looking at his even more foolish younger disciple, Dr. Zhao felt even more exhausted and said expressionlessly, It's nothing. Just remember to be more alert when you sleep. Don't sleep like a pig, unaware of what's happening outside. Oh, this Dr. Zhao is quite interesting. After leaving the Renxin Medical Hall, a faint smile appeared on Lu Qing's face. He naturally detected the probing nature of Dr. Zhao's earlier words. However, since he wasn't well acquainted with the other party, naturally, he would not easily reveal such profound secrets of heaven and earth. Moreover, since the other party had not even sensed the heaven and earth Dao sound, it was clear they were not destined to know. Even if he did tell them, it would only increase their troubles. Having collected the medicinal herbs, Lu Qing returned to the inn, where the others had also gotten up. After breakfast, they prepared to set off. Ah Qing, where are our 2 horses? When everyone saw the transformed appearance of the 2 dragon blood steeds, they were all astonished. Even the elder doctor was caught off guard. Especially the innkeeper and the waiters, their mouths hung agape. There was no helping it. After one night, the 2 horses had become so much more magnificent. They were practically like the legendary celestial steeds. Anyone who saw them would unavoidably be taken aback by their splendid appearance. Last night, I gave them a bit of moon essence, and this is the result, Lu Qing said as he placed the luggage on the cart. Let's get on the carriage, everyone. These 2 horses have undergone a bloodline transformation. They should be faster now, and perhaps will reach Holy Mountain sooner than expected. Upon hearing this, everyone else was surprised. Their carriage was already fast enough. If it could go even faster, wouldn't it practically fly? With such expectation, everyone began to board the carriage. Ma Gu, we're ready. After everyone was seated, Lu Qing said. Ma Gu immediately pulled on the reins, and the 2 dragon blood steeds stepped ahead, gently pulling the carriage forward. The rhythmic clip-clop of the hooves echoed through the streets of the small town, the dragon blood steeds walking with heads held high and chests out, and the passers-by couldn't help but stare in astonishment. It was early, so there weren't many people on the streets. Otherwise, both sides would probably have been crammed with onlookers. Even so, as Lu Qing and his party were about to leave the town, both sides had gathered quite a crowd of curious onlookers. It seems that it won't be easy for us to stay in cities anymore, the elder doctor sighed, hearing the commotion outside. That's no problem, master. We can just do as we did before, finding shelter in the wild or in a small village. Lu Qing understood his master's concerns. The 2 dragon blood steeds were too extraordinary, clearly not ordinary breeds, and attracted too much attention. It was manageable now in a small town like Yunlai Town, but in larger cities, they would easily attract covetous glances, inevitably leading to unnecessary trouble. Master, you are right. That young Master Lu is indeed no ordinary individual. Dr. Zhao and the eldest disciple stood at an intersection. The eldest disciple was shocked as he looked at the 2 dragon blood steeds pulling the carriage, having never seen such exceptional and uniquely formed steeds before. What a pity! I didn't have the chance to meet young Master Lu's master and seek his medical knowledge, Dr. Zhao regretfully said. Lu Qing's medical skills were already astonishing, so the person who could teach such an outstanding disciple must be even more extraordinary. Dr. Zhao was filled with curiosity, but ultimately didn't have the chance to meet them, which was indeed regrettable. Brother Lu Qing, take note. I'm going to speed up, Ma Gu said after leaving the town, cracking his whip. At the sound of the whip, the 2 dragon blood steeds also began to get excited. After their bloodline transformation, they felt full of power and had been eager to run freely. Now they finally got their wish and pushed off the ground forcefully, dashing forward. At the same time, a whirlwind arose, and streams of Qing-colored energy appeared, enveloping both the horses and the carriage. Whoosh! The power of the array combined with the greatly enhanced dragon blood steeds made the carriage's speed soar to an extreme, much faster than the maximum speed at which they had run before. Good grief! Despite being prepared, Ma Gu was startled by the carriage's acceleration. Had his reaction not been quick, he might have lost his grip on the reins and been thrown from the carriage. Chapter 387. It was actually those in the carriage, like Lu Qing, who, under the protection of the array, didn't encounter any issues. Such incredible speed. The elder doctor couldn't help but show a look of astonishment on his face as he felt the carriage fly down the road like a streak of azure lightning. "Master, it seems we can reach Holy Mountain a bit earlier," Lu Qing said with a smile. As for Wei Ziyan and Hu Zheji, the scenery whizzing by outside the window had them staring in disbelief much earlier on. The two dragon blood steeds became more excited as they ran, their speed ever increasing, almost as if they were about to truly take flight. This forced Ma Gu to order them to rein it in, lest the speed increase any further and he lose control of the carriage's direction. In this way, under such high-speed travel, the carriage continued to make its way toward Holy Mountain. When they stopped in the evening, Lu Qing and the others looked at the map and were amazed to find they were already 5,000 miles away from Yunlai Town. And this was the result of Ma Gu intentionally suppressing their speed. Otherwise, had they run at maximum speed, they probably would have been 10,000 miles away from Yunlai Town by now. "Very good. At this rate, we should be able to reach Holy Mountain in no more than 3 days," Lu Qing said contentedly after checking the map. What pleased him even more were the two dragon blood steeds which, despite having run wildly all day, showed no signs of fatigue and seemed to have energy to spare. It wasn't in vain that he had given them so much moon essence. "Let's rest here tonight. I'll go see what we can make for dinner," Lu Qing said. Where they stopped was a forest, and setting up a few tents would be enough to get through the night. Ma Gu and the others were responsible for setting up the tents while Lu Qing, accompanied by little Li, caught several plump rabbits after roaming around nearby. "Rabbits!" Little Yan's eyes lit up upon seeing the plump rabbits Lu Qing caught. "Brother, are we having roast rabbit tonight?" It's been a few days since I made roast meat for you. We're in luck with these rabbits. They'll make a nice feast for our teeth." Roast meat for dinner. Upon hearing this, both Ma Gu and Wei Ziyan couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Even the elder doctor seemed intrigued. Originally still shocked by the fact that they had covered 5,000 miles in a single day, Hu Zheji became curious upon seeing this scene. Wei Ziyan happened to be next to her, and when Lu Qing went to clean and prepare the rabbits, she asked softly, "Young Master Wei, is the roast rabbit made by Mr. Lu really that delicious? You all seem so excited about it." "Of course," Wei Ziyan responded without hesitation. "Dr. Lu's roast meat is the best. No, I mean everything he cooks is the best." "That good." Hu Zheji grew even more curious and also began to anticipate just how delicious the highly praised roast meat could be. Then, not much later, Hu Zheji's curiosity was satisfied. "Sister Hu, this is for you from brother," little Yan said, holding out a plate to Hu Zheji. On it was a freshly cut piece of roast rabbit. Looking at the large piece of golden brown, leg-included roast rabbit in front of her, and the irresistible aroma that constantly invaded her nostrils, Hu Zheji couldn't help but swallow. The fragrance of the roast rabbit was just too rich. "Thank you, little Yan." Hu Zheji took the plate. Turning her head, she saw Ma Gu and the others had already started eating. With the rabbit meat in her hand being so fragrant, she no longer cared to be reserved and took a tentative bite. That bite of rabbit meat made Hu Zheji's eyes widen instantly. The rabbit skin was crispy and the meat tender. The outer skin was aromatic, and the inner flesh was not only juicy but also very fresh, a delicacy unlike any she had ever tasted. No wonder Wei Ziyan and the others' eyes lit up at the mention of Lu Qing making roast meat. It turned out that Mr. Lu's culinary skills really were that impressive. Hu Zheji looked towards Lu Qing, who was still roasting meat, having an epiphany. The long-missed roast rabbit allowed Ma Gu and the others to eat with great satisfaction. After dinner, and while it wasn't yet completely dark, Lu Qing opened up the large package of medicinal herbs he had purchased at Renxin Clinic that morning and began preparing medicine. "Ah Qing, what medicine are you planning to make?" the elder doctor asked. "I plan to make some regenerative ointment. Miss Hu's leg injury is quite severe. The usual antiseptic medicine's effects are too slow." Lu Qing skillfully prepared the medicine, then took out a medicine jar and began to concoct it. In order for the ointment to exert its strongest medicinal effects, he even dropped a bit of the spiritual liquid that he and his master had once concocted together. Hu Ziji felt even more grateful when she heard Lu Qing was concocting ointment for her. At the same time, the image of Lu Qing in her heart became even more mysterious and imposing. With his exceptional medical skill and unfathomable cultivation, he seemed like an immortal. Now, even his cooking had won everyone over. She truly couldn't imagine what Lu Qing was not capable of. After toiling for over an hour, Lu Qing finally finished making the regenerative ointment. When the ointment had cooled down, he scooped it into a small pottery jar and handed it to Hu Ziji. "Miss Hu, before you sleep each night, apply this ointment to your wound. I estimate that by the time this small jar of ointment is finished, your wound should be completely healed and should not leave any scars." "Thank you, Mr. Lu." Hu Ziji took the pottery jar and held it tightly, expressing her thanks gratefully. She had initially thought that the scar on her leg would follow her for a lifetime. Now that she heard it could be fully restored, her heart was truly filled with surprise and delight. That night, Hu Ziji applied the ointment to her wound in her tent. She had thought that the ointment, making direct contact with the wound, would cause significant pain just like the antiseptic medicine. Unexpectedly, this regenerative ointment was quite miraculous. When applied to the wound, not only was there no pain, but a refreshing sensation spread, greatly reducing the original pain of the wound. That night, without the torment of leg pain, Hu Ziji slept very soundly. When she got up early the next day and checked the wound on her leg, she found that the wound had almost healed. Even the bones in her leg had mended a great deal. As for the pain, it was now minuscule, almost imperceptible. If it were not for the sensation that her leg bones had not fully healed, Hu Ziji would have doubted whether her leg had ever been seriously injured. At this point, how could Hu Ziji not know how precious the ointment Lu Qing had made for her was? To be able to improve such a severe injury as a broken leg by a lot, overnight. Such an ointment could truly be called a miraculous medicine. Even in Azure Dragon City, she had never heard of any injury medicine that was so effective. "Sister Hu, are you awake yet?" Just as Hu Ziji was stunned, Little Yan's voice sounded outside the tent. I'm awake," Hu Ziji quickly responded. "Then you need to get up quickly. Brother said that after we have breakfast, we will set off." "Okay. I'll come out immediately." Hu Ziji quickly got dressed and walked out of the tent, where she saw everyone was already up, and even little Li was perched on Lu Qing's shoulder, causing her face to turn red. "I'm sorry. I think I overslept." "It's okay. We also just got up not long ago," Lu Qing said with a smile. "Was last night's ointment effective?" "Very effective. I feel that my leg injury is mostly healed. Mr. Lu, your ointment is really amazing. If it were sold in the city, I think countless people would go crazy for it," Hu Ziji exclaimed. "That's good." Lu Qing looked at Hu Ziji's complexion and suddenly, his brows furrowed slightly. At the same time, the elder doctor seemed to have noticed something as well and looked toward Lu Qing. Neither master nor disciple said anything, though they exchanged glances. Finally, Lu Qing said, "All right, let's have breakfast, and then we'll set off." Everyone ate breakfast quickly, then packed up their belongings and departed. As the carriage began to speed off again, the elder doctor quietly sent a message to Lu Qing. "Ah Qing, did you notice something just now?" Chapter 388. Omens of Certain Death, finally reaching the Holy Mountain. Disciple felt just now. Miss Hu seemed to have a streak of black chi between her brows, as if there is going to be some grave danger befalling her soon. Yet strangely, her fortune does not seem to diminish. Hearing his master's divine soul transmission, Lu Qing was somewhat puzzled. The recent change in Hu Ziji's aura had caught his attention. "Indeed, your master also sensed it?" the elder doctor said grimly. "Miss Hu is likely to encounter very dangerous circumstances in the near future. But at the same time, a great opportunity may also come to pass for her. The intertwining of gold and black chi means that life and death might hang by a thread." Upon hearing this, Lu Qing's expression also turned solemn. His master was endowed with merit light and protected by heaven, often receiving heavenly premonitions. He was far superior to him in sensing this kind of ominous premonition. If he also felt it was dangerous, the matter must not be trivial. Master, it seems this trip to Holy Mountain is bound to bring unimaginable events. We must be careful, said Lu Qing. The elder doctor nodded. Both master and apprentice were using divine soul transmission. Thus, Hu Ziji was still unaware that she might soon encounter great peril. The carriage sped along, heading towards Holy Mountain. On the way, Lu Qing and the others did encounter those who, attracted by the carriage's mystical force, wished to intercept and pursue them. But under the speed of the carriage, it was all in vain. No one could catch up to the speed of Lu Qing and his companions. Those who pursued them for a short while could no longer even see the Qing-colored current behind the carriage. And so, in a wild race, Lu Qing and his group covered another 2 days' journey. On the morning of the 3rd day, on a hillside, Ma Gu suddenly stopped the carriage. "What's wrong, Ma Gu?" Lu Qing felt the carriage stop and asked. However, he didn't get a response from Ma Gu. Perplexed, Lu Qing lifted the curtain. "Ma Gu, what happened?" "Brother Lu Qing, look ahead." At that moment, Ma Gu suddenly spoke up with a trembling voice. "It seems we're about to arrive at Holy Mountain." "About to arrive? That shouldn't be." Lu Qing was startled. They had just checked the map in the morning, and they should still be thousands of miles away from Holy Mountain. They couldn't have traveled that far so soon. Lu Qing stepped down from the carriage to look ahead, and the next moment, he too was stunned. In the far distance, a gigantic mountain, soaring into the clouds, stood upon the land. The mountain so immense that its peak was invisible, with clouds only able to waft around its waist. The entire mountain exuded grandeur and dignity, compelling an involuntary reverence and worship from those who beheld it. "So this is Holy Mountain?" At that moment, the elder doctor and the others also disembarked from the carriage. Seeing the awe-inspiring mountain in the distance, like the spine of heaven and earth, they were all equally shocked. No wonder it is called the center of the world. The name Holy Mountain is indeed well-deserved. After a while, Lu Qing finally exhaled a long breath, slowly containing the shock in his eyes. On the road, he had imagined more than once what Holy Mountain would be like. But now, seeing it in person, he realized his imagination was far too modest. The real Holy Mountain was much more awe-inspiring than he had anticipated. This journey, even if we return empty-handed, being able to witness such a scene makes our efforts worthwhile, lamented the elder doctor. As for the others, they were still dumbfounded by shock and unable to regain their composure. "Let's go, we continue on our way." Although Holy Mountain was visible from here, Lu Qing estimated they were still at least 1,000 or 2,000 miles away. But this also highlighted the mountain's majesty, to be visible from such a distance. One could hardly imagine how soul-stirring it would be when one approached this sacred mountain. The carriage set off again, but all within remained excited. "Master, according to the map given to us by Senior Xianjizi, there is a holy city at the base of Holy Mountain, and Tianji Building's headquarters is located there. Should we head there first?" Holy Mountain, though magnificent, was not one to be casually scaled. The rumor had it that a mysterious force on Holy Mountain made one's body heavy. With this force growing stronger the higher one climbed. Ordinary people who rashly scaled it could easily be harmed by this mysterious force. Thus, there was a decree forbidding ordinary people from approaching Holy Mountain carelessly, lest they lose their lives. Of course, this mysterious force poses little threat to powerful martial artists. Now, with the change in heaven and earth rules and the recovery of spiritual energy, who knows what new changes had taken place on Holy Mountain. Lu Qing still wanted to gather information before proceeding. "That's a good idea," agreed the elder doctor. "I wonder if Mr. Jirue has left seclusion." Lu Qing had a favorable impression of this Tianji Building disciple with whom he had a brief acquaintance. Back in Azure Dragon City, Xianjizi had mentioned he had broken through to the innate realm and was consolidating his realm in seclusion. If he had emerged from seclusion with the friendship from past days, perhaps it would be easy for them to gather information. The carriage sped on, and what seemed like a distant journey of 1,000 or 2,000 miles was not much for Lu Qing and his company. In less than half a day, they would be able to arrive. Chapter 389. As they approached the holy mountain, Lu Qing also felt that the spiritual energy within the surrounding space had become exceedingly dense. He was merely in its presence, and his own realm almost couldn't be suppressed, giving him the feeling of an imminent, spontaneous breakthrough. No wonder the major sects of Central State were so desperate back then, even risking life and death. Such dense spiritual energy, once refined, would not only advance one's strength by leaps and bounds, but would also surely yield great benefits. In the face of the temptation to break through to a higher power, the so-called rules were nothing but a joke. Who would have thought the holy mountain would be like this? Fortunately, I followed Mr. Lu and the others here. Otherwise, how could I witness such a magnificent sight? Hu Ziji looked at the scenery flying past the window, still feeling amazed. Lu Qing turned his head to speak but suddenly paused. Because he saw the black aura between Hu Ziji's eyebrows had thickened. It almost looked like a dark cloud looming overhead. Even he could see it very clearly. The elder doctor also noticed this scene, a flicker of shock passing through his eyes. With Hu Ziji looking like this, she clearly bore the mark of inevitable death. Could it be that her deadly tribulation was in this holy city or perhaps even upon the holy mountain? Mr. Lu, is there something dirty on my face? Hu Ziji, seeing Lu Qing staring intently at her, first blushed, then immediately raised her sleeve to wipe her face. Oh, it's nothing, Lu Qing replied, his gaze returning to normal. He smiled and said, Miss Hu, we're about to enter the holy city. Once inside, please don't wander around at will. We are strangers in this place. It would be troublesome if we got separated. Okay, Hu Ziji responded softly. Although Hu Ziji obediently agreed, Lu Qing's mood did not relax. The black aura between the girl's eyebrows was far too intense, and he dared not imagine what kind of deadly tribulation could make a person with such great fortune bear such a mark of inevitable death. For a time, both Lu Qing and the elder doctor felt a heavy mood set in. Thus, when they finally saw the equally magnificent holy city, neither of them was in the mood to appreciate it. Brother Lu Qing, elder doctor, I've asked around. There's no entrance fee to the city. We can just go in. Ma Gu quickly returned after gathering information outside the city gate. Then let's go in, Lu Qing nodded. He glanced at Hu Ziji's eyebrows, where the almost cloud-like black aura was thickening, and suppressed the worry in his heart. Ma Gu drove the carriage slowly into the city. The majestic appearance of the two dragon blood steeds naturally attracted some attention. However, this was the holy city, the most bustling place in the world. Rare and unusual beasts were not uncommon here on normal days. Although the two dragon blood steeds were impressive, they didn't attract a crowd. Thus, they entered the holy city smoothly. However, as soon as they entered, certain alert individuals stationed at the city gate began taking out notebooks to record their information. Almost at the same time, not far from the city gate in a certain inn, a figure meditating cross-legged on a bed suddenly opened his eyes. A glint flashed across his eyes. I seem to smell the scent of fate. Those eyes, with 4 pitch-black pupils, looked particularly strange. Lu Qing and his companions were still unaware of this. After entering the holy city, both he and the elder doctor felt a mysterious force within the city. It once again greatly suppressed their divine soul-sensing abilities. Lu Qing, who could originally sense movements within several hundred meters, could now only sense within 100 meters, while the elder doctor was reduced to just 30 meters. For innate realm experts, such a distance could be covered in a dash of their movement technique. No wonder Shen Jizi once said that even innate realm martial artists rarely dare to cause trouble in the holy city. This suppressive force, inside this holy city, must be the result of a very powerful array. It's just unknown whether this array has existed since ancient times, or was set up by people from later generations. The history of the holy city was very long, even more ancient than many of the old sects in Central State. This majestic city, who initially constructed it, has become difficult to ascertain. Perhaps only those 3 mysterious Saint Masters, along with the most ancient sects of Central State, which have been passed down for thousands of years, would know its origin. After walking around the holy city for a while, Lu Qing and his group started to inquire about the headquarters of Tianji Building. Unexpectedly, the location of the Tianji Building headquarters was very easily discovered by Lu Qing and his group. "Young master, are you heading to Tianji Building?" a candy vendor asked enthusiastically, pointing to the west. "Just follow this main road straight ahead, and when you reach the western area of the city, the tallest skyscraper with a 7-star mark on top is Tianji Building." "Thank you, young man." Lu Qing paid some money and bought several candy figurines before he thanked the vendor and left. Back on the carriage, he handed the candy figurines to the bright-eyed little Yen. "Master, I found out that Tianji Building is in the west of the city. That was easy to find out?" The elder doctor was also surprised but quickly realized. Indeed, in Azure Dragon City, the location of Tianji Building is not hidden. We misguided ourselves, thinking that such a major sect would surely have a very secretive headquarters. Indeed, hiding in plain sight, Tianji Building clearly does not shy away from interacting with the public. Lu Qing also nodded. "Then let us head over. I also sensed something just now." The jade token given by Ji Rui showed a slight reaction. "It's just too vague. I couldn't confirm the direction completely." Thus, Lu Qing and the others continued driving the carriage towards the west end of the city. Just as Lu Qing and his companions had left, a figure in a black robe appeared in front of the candy vendor's stall, looking puzzled. "Strange. I clearly sensed the presence nearby, but now it's gone. Even with the heart demon prediction technique, I couldn't figure out the clues. Damn. If it weren't for the arrays in this broken city suppressing the divine soul sensing ability, I wouldn't need to exert so much effort." After calculating for a while and coming up empty, the black-robed figure was about to leave. Suddenly, seeing the candy vendor, an idea struck, and he pulled out a piece of silver, walking over to the stall. "Young man, I'd like to ask you about something, and if you answer well, this silver is yours." Upon seeing the piece of silver in the stranger's hand, the candy vendor immediately smiled brightly. "My lord, whatever you wish to ask, I will surely tell all I know. Have you seen any unusual people passing by here just now?" "Unusual people?" The candy vendor was momentarily stunned. Then after thinking for a while his eyes suddenly lit up. "I didn't see unusual people, but I did see 2 unusual horses." "Unusual horses?" "Indeed, there was a carriage that passed by here earlier. The passengers even asked me for directions. Wow, those 2 horses pulling the carriage were truly magnificent. They were at least 2 heads taller than ordinary horses and had white horns on their foreheads. I've never seen such majestic and unique horses in all my life." "Horned horses?" The black-robed figure's eyes flickered. "Do you know where they were headed?" I know. They said they were going to Tianji Building." "Tianji Building?" The black-robed figure nodded slightly and tossed the silver over. "Thank you, young man. This silver is yours now." With its title as the foremost city in the world, the holy city was extremely vast, and the roads were exceptionally wide. Even 10 carriages could travel side by side without feeling crowded. As such, there was no issue for Lu Qing and his group driving their carriage within the city, though they couldn't gallop recklessly. As they continued driving the carriage for a while, the elder doctor suddenly changed expression, pulling out a jade token from his inner pocket. "Master, can you feel where Tianji Building is now?" "That's right. The fluctuations inside the jade token are quite clear now." The elder doctor nodded. Just then, Ma Gu's voice also came from up front. "Brother Lu Qing, I see the tall building that the candy vendor mentioned. All right, let's head that way." Just as Lu Qing and his companions were approaching Tianji Building, in a towering giant tower, a young figure in a simple cloth robe, who was sitting cross-legged in front of a chessboard, engaged in a game, suddenly shuddered, his face showing surprise. He took out a jade compass from his chest, sensing the information transmitted from it. Slowly, a delighted expression spread across his face. Chapter 390. Seeing Ji Rui again, unable to calculate. "Ji Rui, what brings you such joy?" A venerable elder with a white beard, exuding an air of immortality, asked from across Lin Ji Rui. Friends from afar bring joy to the heart. Lin Jirue, folding up his jade compass, replied with a smile. Oh, I wonder which young talent it is this time? The curiosity of the ethereal elder was piqued by the smile on Lin Jirue's face. This disciple of his, though seemingly indifferent and amiable to everyone, in reality held himself in high esteem, rarely paying regard to ordinary individuals. So, he was indeed curious as to who could make his most distinguished disciple so delighted. Master should be familiar with him. He is Chan Songqing, that elder from Tsang State whom I've mentioned before. Oh, is it the one you mentioned who possesses the merit light, an innate realm expert? Interest immediately lit up in the elder's eyes. Exactly. More than 2 years ago, I gave Elder Chen a jade token, thinking he would come to Central State in the following year or two, but he only arrived now. He must have sensed the changes in the heaven and earth, hence coming to Central State, guessed the elder. After the changes, the spiritual energy recovery was the most drastic in Central State. Any discerning innate realm individual would certainly not want to miss such an opportunity. Perhaps, I just wonder whether his disciple, the young friend Lu Qing, has come with him. Lin Jirue said. Is that the youth who, with only a muscle-bone realm body, defeated a martial arts grandmaster from the Tiankai sect? Exactly, that youth is exceptionally talented in martial arts. I wonder if he has stepped into the innate realm after these 2 years. Lin Jirue recalled Lu Qing's indifferent demeanor. That young man was one of the most mysterious individuals he had ever encountered. Moreover, he was the only person he couldn't see through after taking charge of the exotic treasure. Master Elder Chen must have already arrived nearby. I need to go and welcome him, so I'm afraid I won't be able to finish this game of chess with you. Go ahead. The situation in the city is tense right now. Having such a benevolent and strong figure around is indeed fortunate, said the ethereal elder. Lin Jirue thought about the recent events in the holy city and felt a slight anxiety. He felt it necessary to discuss the city's situation with the elder doctor later, to prevent him from unknowingly getting involved in the turmoil. Master, this should be the place. Lu Qing looked up at the towering tower and the 7-star symbol identical to that on Tianji Building in Azure Dragon City, and spoke. I can feel it. The fluctuations received by the jade token also come from here. The elder doctor nodded. Ma Gu asked, how should we enter? Do I need to send in a visiting card? No need. Lu Qing's expression suddenly brightened with a smile. An old friend is already coming out to meet us. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure in plain clothes emerged from the tower. Who could it be but Lin Jirue, whom they had not seen for over 2 years? Isn't it a joy to have friends come from afar? Lin Jirue's demeanor was gentler than 2 years ago, and he greeted them with a smile. Elder Chen, young friend Lu Qing, it's been over 2 years. How have you been? Long time no see, Jirue. Elder Chen smiled. Thanks to Mr. Jirue's blessings, all is well. Lu Qing bowed slightly. Nice to meet you, Mr. Jirue. Ma Gu and Wei Zian also paid their respects, especially Wei Zian, who was profoundly respectful. He knew that if it weren't for Mr. Jirue's intervention back then, their Wei family might have ceased to exist. Young Master Wei is here too? Lin Jirue was surprised to see Wei Zian. Is Elder Wei Shanhai still well? The patriarch is still robust. He especially asked me to send his regards to Mr. Jirue. Wei Zian said respectfully. Elder Wei Shanhai is too polite. Lin Jirue subtly observed Lu Qing and the elder doctor. Having not seen them for over 2 years, Lu Qing had grown quite a bit taller and even more handsome, while the elder doctor looked unchanged, still that old figure. However, what truly startled Lin Jirue was that he could not see through the cultivation realms of Lu Qing and the elder doctor. Even when he covertly used the power of the exotic treasure, he still gained nothing. This shocking revelation was almost unbelievable to him. After all, he was now at the peak of the initial innate realm, barely a step away from the minor success realm. Let alone that over these 2 years, through constant refinement day and night, he had fully mastered the exotic treasure bestowed by his sect. Yet, He could not discern the cultivation realms of the teacher and disciple duo. Was their cultivation so advanced that it was beyond his reach? Or did they carry an exotic treasure on them that completely blocked his attempts to probe? Turbulence stirred in Lin Jirui's heart. Yet, he maintained composure on his face, continuing to chat with Lu Qing and the others. After some pleasantries, Lin Jirui suddenly slapped his forehead. "Look at me, getting too excited and neglecting my manners. Please, come with me inside." He then started to lead Lu Qing and the others into the tower. "Mr. Jirui, what about our carriage?" Ma Gu asked. "That's all right." As Lin Jirui was about to make arrangements, he suddenly noticed the carriage of Lu Qing and his group, momentarily taken aback. "Elder Chun, your horses." On the way here, a few nights ago, a celestial phenomenon occurred suddenly, showering down countless beams of moonlight, and these two creatures were fortunate enough to receive 2 beams, transforming them thus. Chapter 391. Lu Qing spoke with a mix of truth and falsehood. Is young friend Lu Qing speaking of that unusual celestial event from a few nights ago? Lin Jirui's gaze flickered. Indeed, these 2 horses that were pulling our carriage absorbed 2 beams of moonlight that night, and for some reason, they turned into this shape the next day. Fortunately, although their appearance has changed, their temperament has not, and they've actually grown much stronger, which has allowed us to travel much faster and save a good deal of time. In that case, these 2 horses have indeed encountered a great opportunity. Lin Jirui praised, his expression returning to calm. Rest assured, I'll have the disciples from the sect take care of it, and these divine steeds will not be treated unfairly. Following Lin Jirui's orders, a disciple from the Tianji building immediately wanted to come forward to help with the horses. "Hold on, we have an injured person in the carriage." Lu Qing walked to the front of the carriage and knocked on the door. "Little Yen, help Sister Hu down from the carriage." "Little Yen is here too?" Lin Jirui was even more surprised upon hearing this. However, when he saw Hu Zheji stepping down from the carriage, his expression suddenly changed. "Young friend Lu Qing, this lady. Has Mr. Jirui noticed something?" Lu Qing asked in a deep voice. Lin Jirui first scrutinized Hu Zheji's brows, then gave Lu Qing a deep look. However, instead of spelling it out, he said with a somewhat solemn expression, "Let's all go inside first." Lu Qing and the others followed Lin Jirui into the Tianji building, but they did not notice that 100 meters behind them, a figure in a black robe was hiding around a corner. Those eyes with 2 pupils emitted a strange light. A person with great fortune, a body of profound een, and what is that, the light of merit. This small carriage actually has many people with unique talents all at once. Could it really be that heaven is helping me? A fanatical gleam appeared in the eyes of the figure in the black robe. If he could devour those few people ahead of him, his demon body would transform to an unimaginable degree. At that time, not only would the arrays in this broken city be unable to suppress him, but he would also no longer fear those old monsters on top of the holy mountain. This matter must be planned carefully. As long as I devour these few people, I can lay the first foundation for my supreme demon foundation. The eyes of the figure in the black robe revealed madness, yet his heart was exceedingly calm, although he spoke disparagingly of the holy city. He had to admit that at the moment, he did not possess the strength to do as he pleased within this city. Even the few old men inside the Tianji building, he might not necessarily be able to overcome them, not to mention those old monsters on the holy mountain. Therefore, everything had to be done in secret, slowly and carefully planned. The figure in the black robe took a deep look at the Tianji building, gradually disappearing from sight. Lu Qing and the others followed Lin Jirui into the tall tower, but instead of going upwards, they passed through and arrived at a large complex of buildings, eventually stopping in a secluded small courtyard. "Elder Chun, this is where this junior resides. It's a bit modest, so please don't look down on it," Lin Jirui said apologetically. "If you're calling this place modest, then mine can only be described as a shabby hut." The elder doctor chuckled. "How can it compare? In your residence, Just that plum blossom spiritual tree alone is worth more than countless luxurious houses. Lin Jirue shook his head slightly. So it turns out that Jirue misses that plum blossom tea. It just so happens that I brought a lot this time, and I can brew a little. The elder doctor took out a packet of plum blossom tea he had prepared earlier. He who knows me, Elder Chun. Having stepped into the innate realm and refined his innate body, Lin Jirue, upon smelling the faint aroma of plum blossom tea, immediately expressed joy. He promptly went to prepare the tea set. Once Lin Jirue had brought out the tea set, the following tea brewing process was something Lu Qing was very familiar with. He knew this task all too well. Taking over the work, he quickly boiled water, infused the tea leaves with practiced dexterity. Soon, he had brewed a pot of exceedingly perfect plum blossom tea. Lin Jirue picked up one of the teacups, took a sip, and slowly savored it as a look of intoxication appeared on his face. After a while, he let out a long sigh. These past few years, as I've traveled the world, I've drunk countless famous and fine teas, but the one that has captured my heart the most is your plum blossom tea, Elder Chun. Mr. Jirue, didn't you once say that when you achieved the innate realm, you wanted to cultivate a plum blossom tea plant too? Couldn't you succeed? Lu Qing asked curiously. The plum blossom tea tree in the half-mountain small courtyard was cultivated by the elder doctor unintentionally when he stepped into the innate realm by attracting the heaven and earth primordial qi. Knowing the origins of the plum blossom tea tree, Lin Jirue had also expressed a desire to emulate this feat and use the heaven and earth primordial qi to cultivate his own plum blossom tree when he stepped into the innate realm. Now that Lin Jirue had reached the innate realm, Lu Qing posed this question. Upon hearing this, Lin Jirue's face showed embarrassment. When I had my breakthrough, I was traveling outside, and I sensed the opportunity unexpectedly. At that time, I couldn't find a plum blossom tree in a hurry. For most martial artists, the opportunity to break through to the innate realm is something that can be met but not sought after. The inspiration comes and goes in a flash, and once grasped, few are willing to let it go. Lin Jirue was no exception. When he sensed the opportunity for a breakthrough, he did not hesitate and seized the moment right away. It was only afterward that he remembered the plum blossom tea tree, but by then it was already too late. That is indeed a pity, Lu Qing said regretfully. He knew how much this person enjoyed drinking tea. All things are a matter of chance. There's nothing to regret, Lin Jirue replied, shaking his head. This just means that I don't have that particular fortune. You're right about that. The elder doctor nodded his approval. He had always been easygoing, and he greatly admired Lin Jirue's mindset. Elder Chun, you flatter me. Speaking of which, why have you only now come to Central State? I thought you would have come over 1 or 2 years ago. It's quite embarrassing, really. The main reason is that this old bag of bones has been too lazy. After getting used to an idyllic life in the countryside, I just couldn't muster up the energy to go out, and so I've delayed until today, the elder doctor said. Elder, you jest. I think it's because of your nature that you never took that so-called chance to heart. If I'm not mistaken, the reason you've come to Central State this time isn't entirely because of the opportunity at Holy Mountain, is it? Although Lin Jirue hadn't had much interaction with the elder doctor, he knew well that this was a person of great kindness and virtue. The fact that the other party hadn't come to Holy Mountain in the past 2 years indicated that he didn't value that opportunity very highly. His sudden arrival now must have other reasons. Unfortunately, Lin Jirue had tried to predict them earlier but couldn't deduce anything. I'm not that ascetic, the elder doctor laughed. However, this time I came to Central State not solely for the opportunity at Holy Mountain, but indeed there are some other matters I wish to clarify. Is it about this young lady? Lin Jirue turned to look at Hu Zheji. The beautiful young girl, who was listening with great interest, was startled and didn't understand why the conversation had suddenly turned to her. That's just one of the things, yet it's also the most pressing matter at hand. Jirue, you should be able to see the problem that Miss Hu is facing, right? The elder doctor asked. This young lady's brows are surrounded by an invisible black aura that is difficult to dispel. This indicates she will soon face great danger, suggesting that in the near future, she will encounter something more terrible than death, Lin Jirue said gravely. Indeed, Ah Qing and I have also faintly sensed the calamity lying ahead for Miss Hu. Only, we cannot ascertain where this calamity will come from. Jirue, do you perhaps have a way to predict it? The elder doctor knew that Tianji Building's lineage was most adept at such predictions. Perhaps Lin Jirue could have an inkling of the matter. What the elder doctor did not expect, however, was that Lin Jirue just shook his head. I can't predict it. Frankly, elder, as soon as I first laid eyes on this young lady, I had already discreetly made calculations. The result, however, was that the heaven's secrets were obscured, preventing any prediction. If even you cannot deduce it, Jirue, then that is troublesome, the elder doctor said, frowning. Elder Chun, Mr. Jirue, what are you talking about? I don't understand. At this point, Hu Zheji could no longer hold back and asked. Chapter 392, Hu Zheji's Plea, Holy Heart Cliff. Hu Zheji felt utterly confused upon hearing the conversation between Lin Jirue and the elder doctor. What does it mean that I have a dark aura and will face a great calamity? Could it be that she was destined to face a life-and-death ordeal in the near future? Thus, she couldn't help but ask. However, to her surprise, when she voiced her query, both Lin Jirue and the elder doctor turned to look at her with a hint of pity in their eyes. This only made Hu Zheji feel even more anxious. Miss Hu, it's like this. At that moment, Lu Qing spoke up and gave her a rough explanation. The matter ultimately had to be disclosed to Hu Zheji, and she had the right to know. However, in the explanation, Lu Qing did not say that she bore the mark of certain death, but rather that she might soon encounter a serious disaster. Even so, this was still enough to make Hu Zheji's heart flutter in turmoil. After all, sitting in front of her were important figures she could never have imagined meeting before. If even they were troubled, how could she possibly overcome such a disaster on her own? Sensing the young girl's inner turmoil, the elder doctor once more spoke up. Jirue, in such a case, is there no way to resolve it, or must we simply watch the disaster unfold? Hu Zheji immediately turned to Lin Jirue, looking hopeful. Lin Rueji pondered for a moment, then said, Destiny is fickle, ever-changing, and profound. No one's fate is set in stone. The future is uncertain. The so-called art of divining merely calculates the various possibilities of a person's future, attempting to predict a path of relatively higher likelihood. Yet, fate is filled with endless possibilities, and often a sudden thought can change one's life, throwing all future events into disarray. Therefore, Miss Hu need not worry too much. The dark aura in your brow merely heralds an impending great danger. But this does not mean that you are doomed to die. As long as you're cautious and careful in the near future, avoiding risky endeavors, and seek the company of those with good fortune. Perhaps, at a certain moment, the disaster will dissipate on its own. Hearing Lin Jirue's words, although Hu Zheji did not obtain the answer she most desired, she felt somewhat relieved. However, when she heard about seeking the company of those with good fortune, her heart stirred, and she instinctively looked over at Lu Qing and his companions. In her eyes, that day she had nearly been killed by those despicable, cruel-hearted individuals, and it was Lu Qing and the others who had saved her. If anyone could be considered lucky, it was undoubtedly Lu Qing and his companions, her greatest benefactors. Lu Qing felt Hu Zheji's gaze and smiled slightly. Miss Hu, rest assured, since we are friends, we naturally won't ignore your affairs. In truth, Lu Qing was also curious about what kind of threat was so severe that it could portend certain death for someone blessed with such great fortune. Was it a person or some unknown natural calamity? Logically speaking, someone like Hu Zheji, who carried fortune with her, should be protected by that fortune and able to turn misfortune into blessings. Could it really be that the impending disaster could subvert the destiny of someone bearing such great fortune? Comforted by Lu Qing's words, Hu Zheji felt more at ease. She also remembered that her life had been saved by Lu Qing and his group. Had it not been for Lu Qing's intervention that day, she probably would have been a violated and dead corpse at the bottom of a cliff by now. She could say that having lived up to this point was already a bonus. With this in mind, what was there to fear? When the so-called disaster arrived, could the outcome possibly be worse than what almost happened to her that day? Considering this, Hu Zheji's expression became calm and resolute. She stood up and gave a bow to Lu Qing. "Thank you, Mr. Lu, but Zheji has one more favor to ask, and I hope that you will consent." "What is it? Feel free to speak." Before Azure Dragon Pass, Zheji was threatened by villains, nearly losing my life in the wilderness. But thanks to your rescue, I was spared from humiliation and wrongful death. Your kindness to Zheji is as heavy as a mountain, and I will remember it in my heart forever, endlessly grateful. The only thing I can do is to earnestly request Mr. Lu to agree to one thing. Hu Zheji paused a moment before continuing with a firm tone. As Mr. Ji Rui said, the future is difficult to grasp. If heaven has indeed decreed that Zheji must face a calamity, then I shall accept it with tranquility. Zheji knows that Mr. Lu values friendship, but what I ask is that if the calamity really is inevitable and endangers Mr. Lu, please do not recklessly risk your own safety for my sake. Let Zheji alone bear the fate that is mine. Otherwise, if to save Zheji's life, Mr. Lu's safety is compromised, then even if Zheji were to survive by sheer luck, I would be forever troubled in heart. It would be better for me to accept my destiny. The courtyard fell silent. Everyone was somewhat stunned by Hu Zheji's request, which turned out to be this. Lu Qing quietly observed the determination on Hu Zheji's face. Suddenly, he smiled faintly. "Miss Hu, rest assured, although I am confident in my abilities, I am not reckless. If the situation truly cannot be helped, I will not act beyond my power." Then, Zheji is relieved. Lin Jirue watched this scene, shaking his head slightly. He could clearly see that Hu Zheji's words came from the heart. She truly did not wish for Lu Qing and the others to fall into danger because of her. But he also understood the nature of Lu Qing and the elder doctor. Chapter 393. To watch a young girl die before their eyes was certainly not possible for them, especially since Miss Hu was someone they knew. However, he also knew that if there was any chance for the girl to survive, it most likely lay with Lu Qing and his group. After all, these two were people even he could not fully understand, and Elder Chun had an amazingly divine merit light, truly a person blessed with great fortune. But it had only been 2 years. How had Elder Chen's merit light thickened so much? Lin Jirue curiously observed the faint golden light on the elder doctor, invisible to the naked eye of ordinary people. Compared to 2 years ago, the elder doctor's merit light had indeed become much richer. Could it be that in these 2 years, the elder doctor had done some great good deeds? When Hu Zheji's emotions had stabilized, Lu Qing then started asking Lin Jirue about other matters. "Mr. Jirue, we encountered quite a few events on our way here, and also met Elder Xian Jizi in Azure Dragon City. So there are some things I would like to consult you about." "You have met Elder Xian Jizi?" Lin Jirue was somewhat surprised. Indeed, Elder Xian Jizi mentioned that not long ago, the heaven and earth Tao sound echoed throughout the lands and spiritual energy recovery commenced. Central State was rife with undercurrents, and the major sects fought each other fiercely. Later, the conflict was quelled by 3 Saint Masters. May I ask, Mr. Jirue, what is the current situation in Central State, and the conditions in the Holy City and on Holy Mountain? Lu Qing did not beat around the bush in probing for information but asked directly. Knowing that the best way to communicate with someone as wise as Lin Jirue was to be honest. As expected, Lin Jirue, upon hearing Lu Qing's words, did not react negatively but fell into a quiet contemplation. After a while, he slowly said, "The situation in Central State is not good." "Oh, how so?" "Since you have already met my elder Xian Jizi, you probably know why those 2 major sects erupted into conflict and fought so fiercely." Lu Qing nodded. Elder Xian Jizi mentioned that those 2 major sects were ancient enemies and clashed over an ancient cultivation technique, risking their blood and lives. Correct, those 2 major sects are indeed ancient enemies, but what truly incited them to break the rules and fight fiercely was the ancient cultivation technique that could refine spiritual energy for one's own use. Didn't Elder Xian Jizi say that, in the end, 3 Saint Masters personally intervened and produced several ancient cultivation techniques for the major sects to study, thus ceasing the hostilities? The 3 Saint Masters did produce 3 ancient cultivation techniques. However, they did not directly give these techniques to the major sects. Instead, they inscribed them on Holy Mountain for all martial artists in the world to study. Lin Jirue revealed something very surprising to Lu Qing. Inscribed on Holy Mountain? The elder doctor was also a bit astonished. Yes, those 3 techniques are now inscribed on the Holy Heart Cliff of Holy Mountain. The 3 Saint Masters declared that any martial artist in the world, no matter who, as long as they can reach Holy Heart Cliff, can study the techniques. As for how much they can comprehend, that depends on their own understanding and fortune. Indeed, the magnanimity of the 3 Saint Masters is truly admirable, Lu Qing sincerely praised. If it were him, he wouldn't have the courage to so selflessly gift his treasured techniques to the public. The intentions of the Saint Masters are naturally beyond our reach, Lin Jirue stated. Similarly, after this decision of the 3 Saint Masters was announced, it caused a sensation throughout Central State. In no time, powerful martial artists who received the news rushed towards Holy Mountain. They wanted to ascend the mountain first to study the supreme techniques. It's said that the news has gradually spread to the surrounding states as well. Who knows how many martial artists will continue to head this way. Now, in Holy City, it's uncertain how many masters of martial arts are lurking. Many of them have grudges against each other, and when enemies meet, it is natural to feel envy. These days, people in Holy City die from conflicts every day. Holy City is already subtly in a state of unrest, and something big could happen at any moment. Why is that so? Lu Qing was puzzled. They went through all that trouble to come to Holy City. Isn't studying the techniques most important? Why then do they still fight? That is because, although the Saint Masters allow any martial artist to study the techniques at Holy Heart Cliff. However, not every martial artist is qualified to ascend Holy Heart Cliff. Lu Qing's heart stirred. Mr. Jirue, could it be that Holy Heart Cliff has some hidden secret? Indeed there is, Lin Jirue replied. You might have heard that ordinary people are not allowed to climb the Holy Mountain. I have heard something of that nature. The Saint Masters issued this prohibition because at the top of the Holy Mountain, there exists a peculiar force enveloping all sides. This strange force not only makes one's body exceedingly heavy but also suppresses the mind and will. Not to mention ordinary people, even common martial artists, if they rashly attempt to ascend, would find it difficult to take even a few steps. Furthermore, the closer one gets to the summit, the stronger this mysterious force becomes. In some areas, even innate realm experts cannot set foot. Holy Heart Cliff is located on the mountainside of the Holy Mountain. There, the mysterious force is already very strong, and the repressive force is such that even ordinary innate realm martial artists can hardly endure for long. Let alone ordinary innate realm, how could those below the innate realm possibly reach the front of Holy Mountain Cliff? Lu Qing fell silent for a while. However, he could vaguely guess the intentions of the 3 Saint Masters. The ancient techniques that allow one to refine spiritual energy must be extraordinary, and the requirements for cultivation are very high. Ordinary martial artists, even if they obtained it, would surely be unable to comprehend it. Only those talented cultivators with excellent aptitude and will, or possibly those innate realm experts whose chi acupoints have already opened, would be eligible to cultivate it. Then, Mr. Jirue, have you ever gone to Holy Heart Cliff to comprehend the cultivation technique? Wei Zian suddenly asked curiously. I have not. Lin Jirue shook his head. Originally, when the Saint Masters first inscribed the technique, I wanted to go and pay homage. But my teacher said that I had just made a breakthrough, and my foundation was not stable. Rashly comprehending a deeper cultivation technique could be harmful and might easily disturb my mind and spirit, which would not benefit my path in martial arts. Thus, he advised me to settle down a bit and stabilize my foundation before going to Holy Heart Cliff. It seems that the cultivation techniques put forth by the Saint Masters must be profoundly high, for just attempting to comprehend them can disturb the mind of an innate realm expert, Lu Qing exclaimed in surprise. Of course, it is said that since the Saint Masters inscribed the technique, so much time has passed. Even though those supreme elders and powerful innate realm experts from major sects have made some gains, to this day, none has been able to break their shackles and step into a higher, inconceivable realm. This shows how difficult it is to comprehend those three techniques. By the way, Elder Chun, you, with your profound merit light and deep cultivation, why not try to comprehend it yourself? Perhaps you might gain something. Lin Jirue suddenly turned to the elder doctor. So many strong members from major sects haven't deciphered the mysteries, and an old man like me with my dull talents shouldn't embarrass himself. The elder doctor chuckled. Elder Chun, you jest. If you call yourself dull, then I'm afraid we must be as dumb as pigs. Lin Jirue burst out laughing, finding Elder Chun still as humble as ever. He knew well that not only did the elder doctor possess merit light and profound fortune, but his martial arts talent was also exceptional. He could never forget, just over 2 years ago outside Song County City Gate, the impact the elder doctor made when he intercepted Yen Songhai using a trace of innate realm intent. At that thought, Lin Jirue's mind stirred, and he remembered something. Right, Elder Chun? Now that you've come to the holy city, there's someone you should be cautious of. Who? Wang Tsangi. Not long ago, several supreme elders from the heavenly Tsang sect of the northern border also came to the holy city. Among them was that Yen Songhai who once had a conflict with you. It's him. Upon hearing the name Wang Tsangi, not only were the elder doctor and Lu Qing surprised, but Wei Zian and Ma Gu were also momentarily taken aback. Chapter 394. Heavenly Ascension Ladder, Central State 10 Outstanding. To Wang Tsangi, Lu Qing and the others naturally had a deep impression. At first, they had made a considerable decision to head to the county to assist the Wei family. The Wei family was once oppressed to the verge of extinction. It could be said that Wang Tsangi was the strongest opponent they had encountered 2 years ago. Unexpectedly, after so long, they heard this name again. Word has it that after Wang Tsangi retreated in defeat from Song County, he returned to his sect and entered into secluded cultivation, and now he has reached the early stage of the innate realm. His direct senior disciple also stepped into the innate realm half a year ago. This time, 3 supreme elders from his sect are here. If they see you again, they might deliberately stir up trouble. Elder Chun, you should be cautious. How so? Now that we are in the holy city, would Wang Tsangi dare to violate the prohibition and make a move within the city? Lu Qing asked curiously. Lin Jirue laughed. There's something you may not know, Lu Qing. Initially, the Holy Mountain set a ban prohibiting fighting within the city for those of the innate realm. This rule is effective everywhere. However, there is one city where this ban does not apply. Holy City? Lu Qing somewhat understood. Correct. It's the Holy City. Lin Jirue chuckled. You might have felt it too, Lu Qing. There's a peculiar force within the holy city that suppresses a martial artist's power. Thus, even innate realm experts can fight without much consequence. Moreover, the holy city has an arena for duels to the death where private feuds can be settled. If you're not aware of the holy city's rules, you might end up at a disadvantage. I see. Lu Qing nodded. It was no wonder it was called the foremost city in the world. Its rules were different from others. However, since one can fight in the holy city, does that mean if he accidentally kills Wang Tsangi, it wouldn't be considered a violation? A thought suddenly emerged in Lu Qing's mind. Regarding Yen Songhai, Lu Qing didn't believe the man had forgotten the events of 2 years ago. Not to mention, he personally killed 2 of his direct disciples. Even if Wang Tsangi wasn't aware at the time, with so much time passed, he should have guessed it was their doing. With such a deep-seated grudge, he couldn't believe Wang Tsangi, known for his vengeful nature, could let it go. So, this hidden enemy was better off dead. Murderous intent surged silently within Lu Qing, and Lin Jirue was also discreetly vigilant. Seeing Lu Qing and the elder doctor receive the news about Wang Tsangi being in the city without any perturbation. Even Ma Gu and Wei Zian, although surprised, showed no fear. His heart trembled, speculating more about the elder doctor's abilities. Mr. Jirue, you once said, Master had a chance on the holy mountain. Does that opportunity still hold? Lu Qing asked. Of course, Lin Jirue nodded. This opportunity was personally promised by the 3 Saint Masters, so it certainly holds no falsehood. If so, when might my master be able to visit the holy mountain to seize this opportunity? Technically, anytime, but your arrival was sudden. I need to report to the holy mountain and check if anyone is going to comprehend the holy pool recently. Then I will have to trouble you, Mr. Jirue. There's no need for thanks. This is part of my duties. Lu Qing and the others chatted for a while, when suddenly, a commotion arose from outside, so loud it almost reached the heavens. Mr. Jirue, what's happening outside? Lu Qing listened for a moment, finding the clamor rather spirited and lively, and became somewhat curious. Lin Jirue was also listening, quickly understanding what was happening. He said smilingly, "It's nothing serious. It seems to be young talents from somewhere. Once again planning to climb the Holy Mountain Skyladder." Climbing the Holy Mountain Skyladder? Lu Qing and the others were stunned. I just mentioned that the Holy Mountain has been covered by a strange force for many years, making it extremely difficult for climbers to reach the summit. At the foot of the Holy Mountain, there lies a sky ladder, rumored to lead directly to the peak. However, climbing this ladder is even more challenging than other mountain paths. Each step increases the pressure immensely. Only martial artists with solid foundations and strong abilities are even qualified to climb it. Over tens of thousands of years, countless martial artists, including innate realm experts, have attempted to climb the ladder. The most gifted among them have even managed to leave their names on the ladder. This is also one of the biggest features of the Holy City. Most martial artists coming to the Holy City aspire to climb it, to see if they can make a name for themselves or measure the gap between them and those historically famous supreme talents. Is it that magical? Listening, Lu Qing and the others became very interested. The Holy Mountain indeed stood as the center of the world. Even something as simple as the sky ladder was a novelty to them. Since everyone is so interested, why don't we also go and watch the excitement? Lin Jirue suddenly suggested, his mind stirring. Sounds good. Lu Qing too wanted to seize the opportunity to explore the mysteries of the Holy Mountain, so he nodded in agreement. Only Hu Ziji hesitated a bit. But she thought of her own situation. Miss Hu, since we can't deduce the source of your doom, why not put it aside for now? What's destined to come will always come. There's no need to worry excessively. Chapter 395. Overthinking can harm oneself. It's very easy to wear down your body. The elder doctor comforted her. Indeed, Lu Qing nodded and added, as long as you don't stray too far from us, it's better to take the initiative to attack than to hide here. Perhaps we can find a way to avert the calamity. Upon hearing this, Hu Ziji felt it made sense. She knew nothing of her own calamity. Instead of living in constant fear, she might as well enjoy the journey with Mr. Lu and the others. Even if her fate was inescapable in the end, it would not be in vain to have come to the Holy Mountain. So, she nodded lightly, I'll listen to Elder Chen's advice. Immediately, under Lin Jirue's lead, they headed towards the north side of the city. Since the Holy City was built against the Holy Mountain, the north side of the city was based at the foot of the mountain. So many people. When Lu Qing and the others arrived at the location, they were all shocked by the crowd gathered at the base of the mountain. There, on the flat ground at the foot of the mountain, thousands upon thousands of people were gathered. More importantly, these people had strong Qi blood, and almost all were true martial artists with substantial cultivation. Such a scene stunned not only Wei Ziyan and his companions. Even Lu Qing, upon seeing so many martial artists together and feeling the pervasive and robust Qi blood, was somewhat shaken. Is that the legendary heavenly ladder? Lu Qing saw in front of him, on the mountain wall, a huge white jade-like staircase that resembled a Jiao dragon, twisting and winding upward towards the top of the holy mountain, disappearing into the clouds around the waist of the mountain, with no end in sight. Each stair was about 1 meter high and very wide, allowing dozens of people to stand on it simultaneously. This spectacle was breathtaking for Lu Qing and his companions. Lin Jirue was about to answer when suddenly, a torrent of exclamations burst out in front. Someone is about to climb the heavenly ladder. Lu Qing and the others immediately looked forward to see a white figure leap high, eventually landing lightly on the white jade staircase. In one move, he had ascended more than a dozen steps. He was a handsome young man in white clothes, holding a white jade fan. Good, truly deserving of being one of the Central State 10 outstanding. By Xiaohua's first step has already crossed 13 steps. Truly extraordinary. Immediately, someone in the crowd shouted praise. Is it him? At this moment, Lin Jirue let out a light yelp. Mr. Jirue, do you know this person? Wei Zian asked curiously. Of course I recognize him. He's quite famous in Central State. His name is Bai Bufan. He is the true disciple of the Heavenly Origin sect, with a martial arts cultivation that is quite astonishing. It is said that he has refined his divine soul power and is only a hairbreadth away from the innate realm. Among the many talented youths in Central State, he is very well known. He once confronted a master at the initial innate realm with his green jade sword technique and held his ground for 10 moves, making quite a name for himself in Central State. Additionally, his charming and dashing appearance has made him very popular among numerous female disciples, earning him a spot as one of the Central State 10 outstanding. Lin Jirue talked fluently, detailing the identity and background of the young man in white. However, upon hearing this information, Ma Gu and the others wore strange expressions, especially Wei Zian, who scratched his head. Central State 10 outstanding, able to withstand 10 moves from the innate realm without losing ground, just this. He remembered the scene when he first saw Lu Qing, the doctor sparring with his family's ancestors. Later, he heard from the elder that if it came to a life-or-death fight, he wasn't sure he would win against Dr. Lu Qing. Not to mention, Dr. Lu Qing also knew the mysterious and unfathomable cultivation method. Thinking of this, Wei Zian felt that these so-called Central State 10 outstanding were just SOSO. Compared with Dr. Lu Qing, they were far inferior, not worth mentioning at all. Of course, Wei Zian would not voice these thoughts. But Lin Jirue, a man of great insight, felt the odd mood of Wei Zian and his companions after he finished introducing Bai Bufan. Fortunately, at this moment, another round of cheering came from ahead. It turned out that another figure had leaped from the crowd, landing on the white jade staircase, right beside Bai Bufan. It was a young man dressed in brocade. It's Situ Jin. There's going to be a good show now. Are those two going to fight up there? They shouldn't, right? Who would dare to fight on Holy Mountain? It'd be great if they did fight. We'd get to see who's stronger. Immediately, someone in the crowd recognized the person's identity. And there were also those who took pleasure in the misfortune of others, eager to watch the excitement. Lu Qing and the others looked again at Lin Jirue. Lin Jirue laughed lightly. This one is a true disciple from Heavenly Origin sect, Situ Jin, and like Bai Bufan, he is also one of the Central State 10 outstanding. And it is rumored that these two have always been at odds, constantly competing against each other, neither willing to concede to the other. Mr. Jirue, I keep hearing you mention this Central State 10 outstanding. What exactly does this title mean, and who is responsible for this ranking? Ma Gu asked involuntarily. The so-called Central State 10 outstanding is a ranking made by some meddlers, listing some of the most famous and powerful young talents of Central State together in one title. Similar rankings include the likes of the 10 Great Beauties, 10 Great Swordsmen, 10 Great Assassins, and so on. These are all rankings done by meddlers, not necessarily accurate, but those who are listed among them are definitely extraordinary. Lin Jirue explained. Lu Qing found this a bit strange in his heart. However, he also understood. Martial artists, who undergo arduous cultivation, seek fame and fortune. It's not surprising that such rankings are created. Just like the Tianji building, didn't it also come up with something like the Hidden Dragon list? There is a list of 10 great beauties. Those who can make it onto that list must be incredibly beautiful. Unlike the others, whose Zheji's point of interest was something else. Those who make it onto the beauty list are indeed considered top-notch beauties in the world. Some with a smile can bring forth 100 charms, making one merely seeing them once intoxicated in heart and spirit. Others are cold as frost, yet simply with their appearance, they cleanse one's heart and deter impure thoughts. And there are those who, with just a glance, can make a person lose their divine soul and willingly bow down under their hem, happy to become a servant, truly formidable. Lin Jirue sighed. Wei Ziyan and the others were filled with longing, struggling to imagine what kind of beautiful women they must be to possess such charm that a single glance could make one willingly become a servant. Seeing Mr. Jirue like this, you must have seen the beauties on the beauty list, Lu Qing teased, noticing the fleeting look of melancholy in Lin Jirue's eyes. Lu Qing, young friend, you jest. Let's continue watching. Bai Bufan and Situ Jin are not usually on good terms. This time, both ascending the heavenly ladder. I'm afraid there will be a fierce dragon and tiger battle, Lin Jirue said, without admitting, and smiled lightly. Lu Qing smiled slightly and didn't tease any further, looking forward. Meanwhile, the two figures on the white jade steps were also engaging in a battle of wits. Mr. Situ, I didn't expect you to also take interest in ascending this heavenly ladder. Bai Bufan, clad in white, gently waved his white jade fan and spoke aloud. This carefree demeanor immediately drew more screams from the females below. Hearing those screams, a flash of disgust crossed Situ Jin's eyes. However, he quickly suppressed it and also revealed a smile. It just so happens. I also wanted to come here to climb and test my own cultivation. I didn't expect Brother Bai to take the lead and ascend before me. Since that's the case, Brother Bai, seeing as we have this rare opportunity today, why don't we have a competition to see who can climb higher? Oh, you want to compete with me? Bai Bufan's gaze flickered. Indeed, you and I are both known as part of the Central State 10 Outstanding, though it's just an empty title, people still love to compare us. Comparing again and again, I've grown tired of it too. Why not take this opportunity today for a real competition? Let's see who can ascend higher on this heavenly ladder. Then it will be clear who's stronger and who's weaker. It seems, Mr. Situ, you're quite confident, Bai Bufan said, his smile unchanged. What, Brother Bai, do you dare not? Situ Jin said sarcastically. There's nothing I dare not. Bai Bufan closed his white jade fan and his smile faded. Fine. I'll compete with you this once. Chapter 396. Heavenly Ladder Record. A prominent tree in the forest will surely be blown down by the wind. Brother Wang, Mr. Situ, this is where you're wrong. How could you leave us out of such fun? Just as Bai Bufan and Situ Jin were confronting each other, suddenly, several figures leapt from the crowd and landed beside them. They were also a few young people with strong presences, each with a unique demeanor and outstanding appearance. One could tell at a glance that they were disciples from major sects. Sure enough, upon seeing those few people, the crowd burst into another round of exclamations. It's the other members of the Central State 10 Outstanding. What's going on? Did they agree to climb the heavenly ladder together today? Now, there truly is a spectacle to watch. In the Central State 10 Outstanding, the ranking has never been in any particular order. Could it be that this time they're going to sort it out among themselves? What a trip this has turned out to be. Never expected to witness such an exciting scene. The crowd below was buzzing, stirred with excitement. On the white jade stairs of the heavenly ladder, Bai Bufan and Situ Jin were also taken aback. You all came too? Of course, with the changes in heaven and earth, Holy Mountain being the center of the world, it's bound to be lively. How could we possibly not come? Brother Bai, Mr. Situ, the two of you competing alone seems a bit too dull. Why not let us join the fun? It's rare for us, the 10 Outstanding, to be all together today. Why not just compete together? Not bad. Those two are already ahead of us. If we don't make an effort now, I'm afraid we'll be left far behind. Is it them? I didn't expect that the 10 Outstanding would all come. This is the first time since that title came out. Seeing the figures suddenly leap up, Lin Jirue was slightly taken aback. They all came, Wei Ziyan inquired. But aren't there only 7 people up there? Aren't 3 still missing? Originally, the Central State 10 outstanding consisted of 10 people, but half a year ago, one of them met with an accident, dying unexpectedly, naturally unable to attend. 2 others recently broke through to the innate realm and have automatically dropped off the list. So now only those 7 remain of the 10 outstanding, Lin Jirue explained. Advanced to the innate realm? Lu Qing suddenly looked at him with a peculiar expression. Mr. Jirue, could it be that among these 10 outstanding, others also caught on at this moment, turning their heads to look over? Lin Jirue hesitated, then gave a bitter smile. Indeed, you couldn't be fooled, friend Lu Qing. I, too, was once fortunately exaggerated as one of the 10 outstanding. He, I knew it, with Mr. Jirue's grace. How could you possibly not be included? Seeing the embarrassed expression on Lin Jirue's face, Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. Lin Jirue usually always maintained a calm and confident demeanor. It was rare to see such an expression on the face of this disciple of Tianji Building. Indeed, Mr. Jirue, your grace is far stronger than those few above, Wei Zian also sincerely exclaimed. All right, let's stop joking about me. Lin Jirue's face grew a bit hot, and he quickly pointed forward. Young Master Bai and the others are about to start climbing the heavenly ladder. Lu Qing and the others looked over, and indeed, after a bit of discussion, Bai Bufan and the others had begun to ascend the heavenly ladder. Each stair of the white jade staircase on the heavenly ladder was 3 feet high. The 7 figures at first climbed quite easily. With a light jump, they were able to surpass more than a dozen stairs, ascending over 10 meters quickly. But after climbing more than 10 yards, their speed noticeably slowed down. And the height they leapt also decreased from initially jumping 3 or 4 yards to later just 1 or 2. Gradually, it even became a struggle to climb just 1 step at a time. Mr. Jirue, who do you think will win? Lu Qing asked. Hard to say. Lin Jirue shook his head. These few are all outstanding true disciples from the major sects. Not only have they solidly refined their foundations, but they have also forged their divine soul power. And they all possess secret skills, so no one knows who will come out on top until the very last moment. As Bai Bufan and the others were competing, at some high place in the holy city, several powerful figures were also watching this scene and discussing. Brother Chiu, who do you think will win this competition? One of the figures in a blue robe smiled. I think Bufan, this kid is doing well. Seeing how he still seems to handle it effortlessly, it shouldn't be hard for him to come out on top, another figure said. Otherwise, I am more optimistic about Situ Jin. It's said he has cultivated his Vajra body to Iron Body Peak. He's only a step away from the innate realm's Copper Body Realm. You all know that climbing the heavenly ladder, what matters most is the strength of the physical body. I think the one who can hang on till the end might be him. Another figure chimed in. Climbing the heavenly ladder indeed favors those with strong physical bodies. But don't forget, it also greatly suppresses the heart and spirit. Since Bai Bufan and they are all at postnatal perfection, even if there are differences in physical strength, it shouldn't be too great. So I think, in the end, it will still come down to a battle of heart and spirit will. What's the point of us arguing here? Just watch. The real start of the pressure of the heavenly ladder is after 100 meters. Who wins and who loses, once they pass the height of 100 meters and we see their performance, it will be clear at a glance. Indeed, the real beginning of determining the winner is after 100 meters. With that, the other figures also nodded in agreement. Chapter 397. They had also climbed the heavenly ladder, so they naturally knew some of the conditions on the heavenly ladder. The white jade sky ladder, the initial steps are relatively easy to climb. But once the height exceeded 100 meters, the pressure above the staircase would double, becoming a completely different difficulty. Like the powerful figures high up in the city, many people in the crowd at the foot of the mountain knew this secret. So when they saw Bai Bufan and the others leap up to the next level again, someone immediately shouted, "The 100th level!" As soon as the words fell, they saw Bai Bufan and the others' figures suddenly sway, barely managing to stabilize. It was obvious they were somewhat unaccustomed to the suddenly increased pressure on the steps. Mr. Jirue, Is there any trick to these 100 steps? Lu Qing saw this and turned to ask. The pressure on the heavenly ladder does not increase in a uniform, gradual manner, but instead, every 100 levels, the repressive force is doubled, and with each subsequent level, the pressure increases substantially more than the previous one. For example, at the first level, the repressive force is 1, with each level afterward, it merely increases by 1/10. By the 99th level, the repressive force is only about 10 or so. But at the 100th level, the pressure doubles, becoming 20. Thereafter, although it increases by only 1/10 with each level, it is based on this 20. Thus, Bai Xiaohua and the others are now enduring much greater pressure than before. So that's how it is. Lu Qing and his companions suddenly understood. Actually, there's another saying about the heavenly ladder. Lin Jirui's interest was piqued, and he continued. What saying? It is said that the first 100 levels of the heavenly ladder actually correspond to a martial artist's postnatal realm cultivation. To reach the 100th level, one must possess the cultivation of a martial arts grandmaster, which is perfection in the internal organ realm. To go further, one must refine the divine soul power to withstand the pressure. There is a saying that, for postnatal realm martial artists, crossing the 100th level and continuing to climb, each step represents their own potential. The higher one climbs, the greater their inherent potential is demonstrated. In the future, when they step into the innate realm, the greater their achievements will be. It's no wonder Bai Xiaohua and the others are visibly struggling so much. Yet they continue to persevere, Ma Gu remarked with admiration. Turned out that while they were chatting, Bai Bufan and his group had climbed more than 10 levels. But at this point, they began to show obvious signs of difficulty. They could no longer jump up continuously like before. Instead, they had to rest and gather their strength before jumping to the next level. Some people are falling behind. Lu Qing noticed that one person was taking longer to rest and had already fallen 2 levels behind the others. Lin Jirui glanced over. That's Qin Yunting from the Xuanxin sect, a true disciple. His martial arts style prioritizes agility, which indeed puts him at some disadvantage when climbing the heavenly ladder. Hearing it was a disciple from the Xuanxin sect, Lu Qing and the others couldn't help but glance at Hu Ziji. Because originally, her purpose for leaving Azure Dragon City was to attend the Xuanxin sect's disciple recruitment ceremony. Hu Ziji also felt a bit conflicted. Although she had no relation to Qin Yunting, seeing that a true disciple from the sect she once yearned for was now lagging behind, she still felt a bit off. Mr. Jirui, have you ever climbed the heavenly ladder before? At that moment, Wei Zian curiously asked. Of course I have, Lin Jirui said with a smile. I grew up in the holy city since my youth, and climbing the heavenly ladder is actually a common contest among the martial artists here. Naturally, I did not shy away from tradition. How high have you climbed? Now, even Lu Qing and his companions were curious. It's rather embarrassing to speak of, but before I broke through to the innate realm, my highest was only the 171st level. 171. That's already very high, Wei Zian exclaimed. He looked at Bai Bufan and his group on the ladder, who were currently at around the 130th or 40th level, and already seemed unable to jump any higher. They needed to rest for a long time before they could barely climb to the next level. It's no wonder that, among the 10 prodigies, Mr. Jirui entered the innate realm so much earlier than those few on the ladder. The difference in their potential is indeed quite substantial. Mr. Jirui is truly formidable. Ma Gu and the others also exclaimed in admiration. But it's just 171 levels, not worth much acclaim? Lin Jirui shook his head. There are many prodigies under heaven, countless of whom are more formidable than I. Not to mention anything else, among the 10 prodigies, another who has entered the innate realm is much more powerful than I am. His record on the heavenly ladder stands at 189 levels. 189! Wei Zian and the others exclaimed once again. After Lin Jirui's explanations, they already knew that ascending the heavenly ladder only got tougher the higher one went. The difference of a single level closer to the top could represent an immense gap in strength and potential. and that individual was more than 10 levels above Lin Jirue. Their potential was surely far greater. Then, Mr. Jirue, according to what you said, the history of ascending the heavenly ladder dates back a long way. So, over the years, which postnatal martial artist has climbed the highest? That would be. Lin Jirue thought for a moment before saying, according to the records of Tianji Building, the highest a postnatal realm martial artist has climbed should be a warrior named Emperor Feather. Emperor Feather? Correct, though that was over 1,000 years ago. Emperor Feather has long since passed away. It is said that his record on the heavenly ascension ladder was 199 levels. 199? Ma Gu and the rest were shocked. This achievement was a full 10 levels higher than the other individual among the 10 prodigies Lin Jirue had just mentioned. Yes, and that's probably the highest level a postnatal realm martial artist can reach. Because the suppressive force at the 200th level is said to be several times stronger than that of the 199th level. Even a real innate realm expert must be extremely careful to cope with it. That's beyond the limit of any postnatal realm martial artist. No one at that level can withstand that kind of pressure. In other words, that Emperor Feather almost symbolizes the limit of potential for postnatal realm martial artists. I wonder what realm this predecessor reached later on. Lu Qing asked with interest. However, to Lu Qing's surprise, Lin Jirue shook his head. No, he did not break through to the innate realm before he died. Not entered the innate realm and died? The crowd was shocked. How could that be, with the talents of this predecessor? How could he not break through to the innate? Wei Ziyan could not believe it. It was Lu Qing who spoke thoughtfully. Could it be? Correct? Emperor Feather was assassinated and died. Right after he ascended the 199th level of the heavenly ladder. Lin Jirue nodded, sighing. A tall tree catches the wind. Emperor Feather showed too much potential when he climbed to the 199th level of the heavenly ladder. Without any accidents, had he been allowed to grow successfully, he would surely have become a towering figure in martial arts, an unparalleled warrior. To some ambitious figures, the mere existence of such an unparalleled genius was an error and a threat. Moreover, Emperor Feather originally came from a minor sect, not a strong background. As such, after climbing the ladder, he was discovered the very next day, murdered in the inn where he was staying. Even until now, no one knows who was responsible. Lu Qing and the others fell silent. They had not expected that the strongest genius of 1,000 years ago would meet such an end. Especially Ma Gu and Wei Ziyan, they were even more scared. To be honest, they had even thought of persuading Lu Qing to try ascending the heavenly ladder as well. After all, in their view, Lu Qing's strength was unfathomable, comparable to the innate realm. If he were to climb the heavenly ladder, he would be sensational, far more dazzling than the few called 10 prodigies who were struggling to climb above. But now, hearing Lin Jirue's words, they dared not entertain the thought any longer. Well, speaking of weak backgrounds, weren't they the typical examples? Whether it was Ma Gu or Lu Qing, both could be described as independent and unaffiliated. The only one with a bit of a background was Wei Ziyan. But what was the Wei family in Central State? If those major sects harbored some kind of intent, suppressing them would be all too easy. So both of them no longer dared to consider it. However, Lu Qing could vaguely sense a hint of warning in Lin Jirue's words. He did not point it out but looked ahead, suddenly saying, "They're about to decide the victor above." Chapter 398. Cloud-Water Secret Realm, The Gap Between Geniuses. Hearing Lu Qing's words, everyone looked up at the heavenly ladder. They saw that Bai Bufan and the others had now taken on a completely different appearance. They had almost entirely lost their previous composed and debonair demeanor. Each of them was red-faced, panting heavily, and drenched in sweat as they supported themselves on their knees. Obviously, they had almost reached their limits. Yet, the steps where the group stood finally showed a discrepancy. Among them, Bai Bufan and Mr. Situ stood at the highest point. The others were behind them, but the gap was small, only 3 or 4 steps. At the very end was Qin Yunting from the Xuanxin sect. Just as Lin Jirue had said, Qin Yunting, who excelled in light spirit martial arts, was somewhat at a disadvantage while climbing the heavenly ladder. Bai Bufan and Mr. Situ are now at the 165th level. Wei Xian quickly counted and exclaimed. It seems they have reached their limits. Indeed, their potential does not match up to Mr. Ji Rue.
Ma Guyu remarked in astonishment.
This method of measuring potential through climbing the heavenly ladder seemed quite reliable. Mr. Bai, do you still have the strength to keep going? On the heavenly ladder, Mr. Situ's face was covered in sweat beads as he spoke to Bai Bufan. His muscles trembled, a sign that his Vajra body skill was being pushed to the limit. It depends on whether you, Mr. Situ, still have any strength left. Bai Bufan's expression was also strained. His face, usually pale and refined, was now flushed red, even the whites of his eyes threaded with blood. Clearly, he had reached his limit. Yet, despite this, facing Mr. Situ, he still refused to show any weakness. I do still have a bit of strength left. If I force myself, I can climb up 1 or 2 more levels. Mr. Situ's words caused a slight change in Bai Bufan's expression, because he had truly reached his limit and had no more strength to ascend further. But then, what Mr. Situ said next took him completely by surprise. How about we call this contest a draw? You're actually willing to settle for a draw? Bai Bufan was stunned, scarcely believing what he was hearing. Over the years, Mr. Situ had always competed against him, always standing directly opposed. Now, under the watchful eyes of the public, with a great chance to defeat him right before him, he was willing to give it up? Yes, I can indeed activate my Vajrabadi skill to forcibly climb 1 or 2 more steps. But doing so would surely result in a backlash from the pressure of the heavenly ladder, damaging the foundation of my physical body and further delaying my breakthrough to the innate realm. We are already behind those two. I don't want to widen the gap over a moment of pride. Bai Bufan fell silent. He obviously knew who the 2 people Mr. Situ was referring to were. Truth be told, he had never paid much attention to those 2 among the Central State 10 outstanding before. After all, one was from the Heavenly Mechanism sect, skilled in the art of calculation, likely less powerful than them. The other was even more so, merely the heir of a declining sect with limited resources. His cultivation speed was bound to be slower than theirs. Therefore, his focus had always been on Mr. Situ and a couple of others with similar backgrounds to his own. Who would have thought, after all their competing, the first to break through would be the least conspicuous among them? Thinking this, Bai Bufan suddenly felt a sense of listlessness. You're right. It's not worth risking our martial arts future over this petty dispute. Our focus should be on breaking through to the innate realm as soon as possible, not these trivial squabbles. Mr. Situ, you've won this competition. Bai Bufan said earnestly. Mr. Situ was taken aback, just as Bai Bufan was about to speak to concede. Suddenly, a light laughter came from above in the sky. Is this what they call the Central State 10 outstanding? Climbing a ladder and they are this drained. Indeed, my master was right. These external martial artists generally have a weak foundation. All glitter on the outside, rotten on the inside. The voice wasn't loud, but it carried far enough for everyone nearby to hear clearly. The sarcasm and mockery in it immediately stirred up a commotion. Who is that, so full of himself, to dare to ridicule the Central State 10 outstanding to their faces? Who does he think he is? Looks like there's a new spectacle to watch. People began looking in the direction of the voice. Then the next moment, everyone's mouths fell open, for they saw in the sky above, there were 7 or 8 giant birds hovering, each with people standing on their backs. The giant birds' wingspan was over 10 meters, each flap of their wings producing a loud sound of wind. Bai Bufan and the others had initially been ignited with rage by the mocking tone of that voice. But when they saw the scene above, they too were stunned in place, and the anger in their hearts could no longer be vented. As for Lu Qing and the others, there was no need to say. Coming from remote areas, they had never seen such a spectacle. Their eyes widened in amazement, their faces full of wonder. It's them! Lin Jirue's face also significantly changed as he exclaimed. Mr. Ji Rue, do you know them? Lu Qing asked curiously. I don't know them, but I recognize their origin. Lin Jirue stared intently into the sky, speaking slowly. Dressed in cloud-water pattern robes, riding divine birds, they are from one of the 4 great secret places. Cloud-water secret realm. 4 great secret places? Lu Qing's mind stirred. He recalled a past encounter where he had fought a direct disciple of Yen Songhai, who had once assumed he was a disciple trained in a secret land. Chapter 399. He had also paid attention to this information in the past. The result he got was that the 4 great secret realms were 4 extremely mysterious places, and no one knew where they were located. But every time the descendants of the secret realms appeared in the world, they would inevitably stir up countless ripples. It was said that even the establishment of the Holy Mountain was initially supported by the tacit consent of the 4 great secret realms, which allowed it to be recognized by the major sects all over the world. In conclusion, these were 4 very mysterious and powerful forces. Unexpectedly, they had suddenly appeared here. Curious, Lu Qing immediately activated his superpower and looked up at the sky. This lineup, and these robes, are they people from the Cloud-Water secret realm? In the heights of the holy city, those figures with powerful presences also trembled when they saw the scene above. No mistake, that cloud-water pattern is the symbol of the Cloud-Water secret realm. This change in heaven and earth, the recovery of spiritual energy, could it be that even the 4 great secret realms can no longer hold back? With the people from the Cloud-Water secret realm here, those from the other 3 secret realms must also be close by. What do you think? Should we go up and greet them? Don't rush. Let's see how things go. Besides, even if we were to go greet them, it wouldn't be our turn. While these powerful figures were discussing, a young man in brocade clothing riding on the back of a flying bird suddenly said to Bai Bufan and others above on the heavenly ladder, "What? It seems like you're still not convinced by my earlier assessment." Everyone could tell that the voice that had spoken mockingly before was the same one. "Sir, you jest, we hold no grievances." Although Bai Bufan and the others could not recognize the person's identity. Being able to tame so many extraordinary flying birds must definitely belong to some formidable force. Piecing together from what their sect elders had discussed before, they could roughly guess. These people were probably the legendary people from the secret realms. Where would they dare show any anger? Is that so? But from the looks you had just now, it seemed quite the opposite. The young man in brocade chuckled. Well, if I don't let you witness it for yourself, you won't understand that there are always bigger fishes out there. After speaking, the young man in brocade tugged at the reins in his hand, and the enormous bird beneath his feet let out a long cry. With a flap of its wings, it stirred up a fierce wind and swooped violently toward the mountain below. Its ferocious momentum frightened the martial artists gathered at the foot of the mountain, causing them to cry out in shock and retreat to both sides. They feared they might be struck by the giant bird's wings and have their muscles crushed and bones broken. Fortunately, the young man in brocade had no intention of harming anyone. Just as the flying bird neared the ground, his body leaped and landed on the heavenly ladder. The giant bird then suddenly flapped its wings, stirring the air current and sharply ascending back into the sky. As for the young man, as soon as he landed on the ladder, he didn't pause for a moment. With a step, his body was already soaring into the air like an arrow released from a bow, heading upwards. When he landed again on the white jade steps, the crowd below couldn't help but let out a gasp of astonishment. For this leap had crossed over 20 or more steps, a height of about 70 to 80 feet. It was nearly twice as high as Bai Bufan's initial leap, and that was not all. After landing on the white jade steps, the young man in brocade, without even a slight pause, lightly tapped his foot and his body surged upward again. It was as if the pressure on the heavenly ladder meant nothing to him at all. This second leap, though not as high as the first, still reached a height of about 60 to 70 feet. Then, when his body landed again on the white jade steps, he stomped his foot, and his body abruptly rose again. In this manner, the young man in brocade, like a nimble monkey on a sheer cliff, continuously and rapidly hopped and climbed on the heavenly ladder. Soon, he arrived at the location of Bai Bufan and others. The young man in brocade didn't pause at all but merely showed a disdainful smile before brushing past them and continuing to leap upwards. At this point, Bai Bufan and the others could hardly afford to be angry, merely watching in astonishment as the young man in brocade easily surpassed them and continued upward. The crowd at the foot of the mountain was also in silence at this moment. All were stunned, watching the young man in brocade, though much slower than at the start, still climb at a formidable speed. 170, 180, 190. Although he had surpassed Bai Bufan and the others, the young man in brocade still managed to cross several steps with each stride. Everyone watched, eyes wide open, as he gradually approached the legendary position. Finally, when the young man in the brocade clothes landed steadily on the 200th step, his figure remained incredibly stable, and his expression calm. The crowd below suddenly erupted. 200 steps. He actually reached the 200th step. Isn't it rumored that postnatal realm martial artists can only ascend to the 199th step at most? Above that is the domain of the innate realm. Could this person be an innate realm expert? That's impossible. I don't feel the unique aura of the innate realm coming from him. The record for postnatal realm martial artists ascending the heavenly ladder was set over 1,000 years ago by D.U. I can't believe it was broken today. Who exactly is this person? Even more talented than D.U. from 1,000 years ago. At a high place in the holy city, those figures with strong auras were also shocked. He really reached 200 steps, and he is still in the postnatal realm, right? That's inevitable. Otherwise, with his bold words and mocking Bai Bufan and the others, if he himself were in the innate realm, wouldn't it be like bullying the weak and embarrassing himself? He truly is from a secret land. The pressure at the 200th step, even for someone who has just broken through to the initial innate realm, might not be so easily endured. Yet this young man ascended so effortlessly. It seems he could even go higher. Could he possibly contend with innate realm as a postnatal being? What's so strange about a postnatal body contending with the innate realm? It's not as if it hasn't been done before by those coming from the 4 great secret lands. The heritage of the secret lands is indeed quite different from ours. Otherwise, they couldn't have covertly dominated this world for so long. In the past, people from the secret lands, though coming out to gain experience, usually 1 or 2 at most, this time the emergence of so many from the Cloudwater secret realm and so conspicuously, it seems the world is really about to change. It's so easy for him to reach the 200th step. On the other side, Lin Jirue was somewhat stunned as he watched the figure on the heavenly ladder. As someone who had climbed the heavenly ladder more than once, he naturally knew how strong the pressure on the ladder was. Especially after the 150th step, the pressure was almost reaching the limit for a martial arts grandmaster. Even for him, it was difficult step by step, slowly struggling to climb, finally managing to reach the 171st step. He never imagined that among postnatal martial artists, there would be someone who could ascend so effortlessly and even instantly reach the 200th step. Indeed, although so far away, Li Jirue couldn't sense the young man's aura. But he was certain that the other person must be a postnatal martial artist. The cultivators of the Cloudwater secret realm are famously proud. They would surely disdain to engage in bullying the weaker. But knowing this only added to the shock Li Jirue felt. Mr. Jirue, it seems your information was mistaken. There are postnatal realm martial artists who can reach the 200th step. Surely, as the legend of the secret realm states, anyone emerging from there is incredibly formidable. Lu Qing said with a face full of admiration. Lu Qing, my young friend, how can you remain so composed? Seeing the admiration on Lu Qing's face, Lin Jirue suddenly asked. Ha! Lu Qing looked over, puzzled. Seeing such a great disparity, do you not feel a hint of despair? Lin Jirue said. That great disparity? Are you talking about that high person from the Cloudwater secret realm? Lu Qing, seeing the confusion on Lin Jirue's face, suddenly understood his point and chuckled softly. Mr. Jirue, people's talents and circumstances differ. On the path of cultivation, naturally there are highs and lows, highs and lows. Having embarked on this path, we can't just give up cultivation because our talents are inferior to others, can we? Since that's the case, why should we trouble ourselves by always comparing with others? We cultivators need only compare with ourselves. As long as today's self is stronger than yesterday's self, it indicates that our cultivation has not been in vain. With persistence, even if we cannot catch up with those extraordinary talents for the time being, I believe that one day in the future, we will indeed encounter our destined opportunities. As they say, as heaven's movement is ever vigorous, so must a gentleman ceaselessly strive. Don't you think there is reason in this, Mr. Jirue? After hearing Lu Qing's words, Lin Jirue felt a sudden jolt through his body. Chapter 400. Glimpse of the Devil's Trail, Hu Zheji's Premonition. As heaven maintains vigor through movement, a gentleman should unremittingly practice self-improvement? Lu Qing listened to this sentence, his body shaking tremendously, as he murmured to himself. It seemed he was completely stunned by these words. After quite some time, he finally regained his composure, his eyes clear and bright as he deeply bowed to Lu Qing. Many thanks to young friend Lu Qing for the guidance. Otherwise, I would have been ensnared by the barriers of knowledge and understanding, causing my heart of cultivation to waver. There's no need for politeness, Mr. Jirue. You were merely lost in the game. With your wisdom, even without my reminder, you would sooner or later have come to the realization, Lu Qing said with a smile. He had known at a glance that Lin Jirue was shaken by the performance of the brocade-clad young man climbing the heavenly ascension ladder and had fallen into self-doubt. This matter could be major or minor. If one became too fixated, a moment's carelessness could cause one's heart of martial arts to waver and never recover. Therefore, Lu Qing had given guidance, using the ancient wisdom of our ancestors to break through the barriers in his heart. As heaven maintains vigor through movement, a gentleman should unremittingly practice self-improvement. Ma Gu, Wei Zian, and others who heard Lu Qing utter those words, felt their hearts likewise shaken. To say that their journey to the holy city, suddenly witnessing so many martial arts prodigies, did not move them would be impossible. The gap between individuals was truly immense. That feeling of despair could truly cause one to question the significance of their cultivation. But Lu Qing's earlier words had pierced through their confusion, sweeping away the despondency and reviving their spirits. Watching Lu Qing still calm and composed, Lin Jirue couldn't help but sigh. More than 2 years ago, when he first saw Lu Qing in Song County, he was still a naive youngster. But now, apart from his youthful face, whether in demeanor or actions, Lu Qing had risen to an entirely different level. Even though he himself had reached the innate realm, facing Lu Qing, he still couldn't help but feel a sense of insignificance. To what extent had young friend Lu Qing's cultivation reached? The thought surfaced once again in Lin Jirue's mind. How about it, are you convinced? As Lin Jirue's emotions surged, the brocade-clad youth's clear voice rang out from the heavenly ascension ladder. Yet, there was silence above and below the ladder. Everyone was looking at the brocade-clad youth, eyes filled with reverence. As for Bai Bufan and others, their complexions were pale, faces showing the colors of dejection. Big brother, our fifth brother still loves to be the center of attention. Above in the sky, on the back of one of those giant birds, a beautiful girl with sparkling eyes and pearly teeth chuckled. That temperament of our fifth. On the back of another giant bird, a youth with a gentle demeanor shook his head. If he could just calm down his impetuousness, he might have already broken through to the innate realm. It's not a bad thing. Our fifth brother just has this hobby. If he didn't like the limelight, would he still be our fifth brother? Besides, our Cloudwater secret realm has been hidden from the world for too long. Apart from some ancient sects, few people know of our existence. Now with the changes in the world, it's time to strike awe into them, lest some really think they rule this world. Another cold-faced youth spoke lightly. Indeed, before we came out, our teacher had ordered us to not only compete for opportunities, but to also make the name of our Cloudwater secret realm known. Fifth brother is doing well in this regard. However, the big brother hesitated a bit, but eventually shook his head and said, "All right, we need to pay a visit to the 3 Saint Masters. Call the 5th brother back." "I'll call him." Hearing this, the girl immediately shouted with lifted spirit, "5th brother, have you had your fun? Big brother is calling you back." Upon hearing this shout, the brocade-clad youth raised an eyebrow. He looked down at the people below. No one was speaking, only looking up at him with reverence. He chuckled lightly, and suddenly, a sharp, bird-like cry came from his mouth. He then leapt up, soaring high from the heavenly ascension ladder. At the same time, clear bird cries filled the sky. The giant bird that had carried the brocade-clad youth, with a powerful beat of its wings stirring up the air, swiftly dived toward its master. When the brocade-clad youth leapt and began to fall, the bird was right on time to catch him securely. Then, with a powerful flap, it flew high, returning to its fellow disciples' side. "Let's go." The big brother glanced down at the crowd of onlookers, stupefied, and said softly. Then, the group of giant birds flapped their wings and flew towards another direction of the holy mountain. Watching that group of giant birds gradually disappear into the distance, rounding a bend, and vanishing on the other side of the holy mountain, the quiet crowd suddenly erupted into a tumult of noise. Can someone tell me, what is the background of those people? Merely playing around? That brocade-clad youth who just climbed 200 steps of the heavenly ladder was only playing around. Isn't it just for fun? Look at how easy he made it seem earlier. I feel like 200 steps were not his limit at all. He could have climbed higher if he wanted. Now this is embarrassing for Bai Buffon and the others. Who would have thought that in their moment of pride during the competition, they would have their thunder stolen by an unexpectedly emerging person of no renown? So they just left like that? Lu Qing was somewhat surprised to see the people from the Cloudwater secret realm depart on their birds. It should be to visit the 3 Saint Masters. People from the 4 great secret places always reside atop the holy mountain when they come here and do not stay in the holy city, Lin Jirue explained.